Can I quickly share something with you guys before we get back into break?
As long as you don't mind Zwick here.
As long as you don't mind Zwick.
Yeah, Zwick, if you think this is funny, put it at the fucking top of the episode. Recently I have trimmed my pubes.
It's the first time?
Okay.
No, like in a fucking hot minute, mind you.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, I go through times
yeah,
where
I'm just like,
pour out of my
I'm in
pants.
Hawaii. So like maybe like a week ago, I was really bored and I fucking trimmed my pubes. And every time I go to take a fucking leak, it's like this weird textural surprise because for the last few months I'm like, all right, go into my underwear, grab the thing that's like a bird's nest and then like let it pee into the toilet. Now it's just like I reach for it and there's like this weird steamed dumpling in my underwear that I like.
Yeah, it's just pretty much a Steve dumpling.
Yeah, it's just like, what the fuck is that? Oh, it's my dick. I forgot I trimmed her up.
The one thing about having the hair on is that it actually, I think it like kind of helps suck up some of the moisture.
Yeah,
around it. So when you go, when you take it back a lot, it has like this grippier texture that you're not
steamed dumpling.
Like,
I just go in there and I'm just like, who the fuck left that there? And I'm like, oh wait, that's my dick.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, I that feeling of like, you know, reaching into a pile of hair to pull out a baby hose.
Yeah.
And then like when you shave it all down, it's just like this monster dong when it's soft. It's so different.
Yeah.
Very strange.
The visual. Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't change. It's just the
It's still there.
Very different.
Texture's different.
Perspective's important.
Yep.
But it's just bird's nest to fucking steamed dumpling.
All right.
And I'm standing fast, Zwick, if you think that's funny.
Howdy, hey! Welcome to Roast Morty. My name is Tomato.
I'm Chagonius.
I am your Odysseus for this evening.
Mike could not make it again. He's out doing kickflips over Long Island Taco Bell burritos.
Dude, I heard you did a gnarly laser flip over Wendy's the other day, but
Bro, everyone saw that laser flip. They just want to be on the show now because of that. It's crazy. Yo,
I think he just started another show.
yeah.
Oh, you think he's cheating on us? Yeah.
Yeah, he's cheating on us.
What
Oh, my
would
goodness.
Mike's podcast be named?
Tony Hawk.
Stony Hawk.
Boom Boom Huck Jam.
Stony Hawk.
Mike Regan. Boom
Stony
Boom Huck
Hawk.
Jam.
Stony Hawk's broom broom fuck ham. Anyway.
So how's everyone's weeks?
You know, I had a good week, but I'm going to tell you about the one bad thing that happened.
I like that. That's fine. That's fine.
Because I'm
All right.
mad. I'm furious. I've been frowning for days now. Let me get serious with you real quick. So, you know when you have a long day at work and you just don't want to do anything after?
Yeah.
So
Every day.
I had one of those, and it was all right. You know, I was expecting it. I was told I was going to have a long day. So after work, I'm not going to name the business, but I've been using Uber Eats a lot.
I see.
I see. There's a running trend of Tom's.
Yeah.
And you say you're losing weight?
Yeah, I'm losing weight. 'Cause the deliveries aren't showing up.
Oh, okay. I see what it is.
So yeah, I ordered from a place. It was rather late. It was probably 9:40 when I placed my order, which I understand. There's not a lot of things open, but I saw a place that was open, and I had eaten there before, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to stuff my face with that. I'm going to be a fat pig tonight. I don't
Delivery
care.
fees are expensive. You got to load up when you do Uber Eats.
Exactly, to make the price work. So I order this thing. It says, great, your delivery is coming at 10:30. Get ready for it. And I'm like, that's great, because I'm going to go poop, and I'm going to shower, and I'm going to, like, eat this in bed. Gabby and I are going to make a picnic where I actually bring out one of those, like, Italian tablecloths and throw it over my bed, and we sit on that.
Did you put the sand over your bed first and then the tablecloth?
You need
Of
the
course.
foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Gotta
that.
get the
So-
sand base.
So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for this thing, and I'm looking at the Uber Eats app, and it's saying the food it's on its way. Don't worry, Tom. It's coming to you. I think a man named Angelo was driving it to me. I don't know, but I get a cancellation notice
Yeah.
10 minutes after it's supposed to be delivered.
That dude ate your food. Angelo ate your food.
Yeah, Angelo ate my food, and I was furious because this was at the point. Now it is 10:40. Nowhere is open.
Dude, Angelo was laughing all the way to the dumpster because, you know what? That was the diarrhea food you ordered. He saved your life. You would have been pooping into a dumpster for weeks.
I don't know. It wasn't terribly poor quality food. I spent way too much on it, and then of course I was refunded. But I'm like, Angelo, now you have to bring that home to your wife. She's gonna be mad at you because now you can't pay your cable bill. Thanks for stealing my chicken sandwich. So that's been the focus of my energy ever since. Just how's your week, Cody?
I also got Uber Eats stood up, but it wasn't.
Those are
it was
Uber Eats fails channel. What the hell?
Yeah, I guess it was different from Tom's failure because like I think I ordered Jack in the Box, which is quite a treat because they have never been around where I usually have lived.
Great
So
egg
it's like,
sandwiches.
let me try the fucking Jack in the Box. And apparently box tacos are a thing.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, there's just a little like Chinese food container, and you open it up, and there's just dozens of mini tacos you're supposed to eat with a chopstick. It's weird.
Oh, that's weird.
But like I ordered Jack in the Box, and like unlike Tom, who's got a driver, I never got a driver, but like the expected delivery just kept getting pushed into like the wee hours of the morning. So it's like 1:15 a.m. and it says like Douglas is on his way, and I'm just like, I doubt that, but not enough where I can just go to bed right now. Like, so I just
You gotta have a Douglas on your door.
Wait, you haven't fell asleep yet? You've been waiting for Douglas?
yeah, all this time. Some say to this very day, and then like it like rolled like almost at 2 a.m. and then it was just like canceled, and I'm just like, oh, thank God I can go to bed now. They gave me like $10 for my trouble. I'm just like, did you get $10, Tom?
I didn't get anything. I got a disappointment. That's all I got. How were you so optimistic? I was like, this works because I still use the fucking service because I'm an idiot.
Yeah,
I used it today.
I'm gonna use it later.
I used it yesterday. I just been using it all the time because I'm lazy, and I should be lazy. I have the right to be lazy. I'm a working man. Travis, how did Uber Eats fuck your life over recently?
Make something up.
Well, you know what? I can't because I've never used Uber Eats. I'm a healthy gentleman. I respect my body.
No, you're not.
I respect my body. I've never used Uber Eats.
Oh, it's the healthy man. I don't use Uber Eats, even to get my acai bowls or spinach smoothies. No, I don't even do that.
No, I don't even do that.
I
Dude,
walk on the top of...
I live across the street from a Trader Joe's now. Don't worry, I'm all organic. I got like hemp growing out of my butthole.
That's...
I believe that second part. I don't believe the healthy thing. I believe the hemp growing out of his butthole.
No, my week was not... There's no tragedy involved. You guys have some serious tragedies. The world has a lot of tragedy going on. I feel for you guys.
COVID-19, Black Lives Matter, the Uber negligence that is haunting my life. These are issues I do think about, and I'd be remiss to say that I feel like the most tragic of them is I didn't get that fucking chicken sandwich.
So I think I think the only weird thing that happened to me this week is I did a Portland oops, and that was I was driving back probably from fast food because I respect myself and I'm healthy. I know how to drive. I can use my eyes.
Okay, fine.
Actually, I went to Carl. I was coming back from Carl's Jr. Premium establishment.
Healthy guy, yeah.
Healthy guy.
Healthy guy. All right.
So I'm coming back from Carl's Jr. and I go off the GPS a little bit, and I ended up in downtown Portland, which is not a. I mean, I live close to downtown, but this was a particular day where there was some protesting going on both ends of the spectrum. And it was
flavor.
Yeah, so I basically just like drove into a war zone and
with Carl's Jr.
With Carl's Jr. So I felt safe. I say that mean looking star was protecting me.
Wow. Did you actually manage to see any you did mention this before. I just got to confirm on the podcast here that you saw some of baby Gavin McGinnis's there.
Yeah, little Gavin McGinnis's. I saw a lot of people with my haircut, but then also had like one of those like gaiters on, but the skull face type of thing. Right. Yeah, and they've got the "Don't tread on me" flags. Don't step on my snake.
See, you're hard to pick out because you're a fairly left leaning guy. I wouldn't say you're radical or anything like that.
I'm pretty much. Do you know that guy Karl Marx?
Yeah, that's you.
No.
He's
your
one of
pubic
my
region.
friends. He's one of my friends.
Right, that's your pubic region. So let's say, okay, but like by the look of you, your Hitler Youth haircut and your certain whiteness that you have, you kind of look like you could be a proud boy.
Dude,
Trademark.
I am the least proud of anything I do.
No, you're not proud at all. Actually, of anything.
But yeah,
you know what? I am proud to be your friend, and I'm also proud that you do such great scripts. So what do we have? Who is on the chopping block tonight?
Look at that.
Look at that transition! Whoa,
I'm taking lessons from Big Will.
You're putting Mike to shame right now. You can transition those gaps.
It's a segue if you use your voice.
Yeah, I'm a segue man. All right, get him on the phone. That's what he says.
So tonight this is a podcast. We do history. That's maybe number one. I don't know. Number two, drinking a lot of beer.
This is a truth.
How much beer do you think we guys drank over the past?
Don't ask that.
Like, I'm surprised we didn't when we were all together, we should have just gotten kegs.
We should have. Well, we were getting together at the time when you guys were both living here. It was every Friday.
Was it
the amount of beer was absurd.
Yeah.
A keg lasts about 30 days. We probably could have done one every other week. So
Do you know what we should have done? We should have kegged just outside the window and then tap it through the window.
Oh,
that would have been cool.
Especially if there's snow outside.
Yeah, that was the
I
pro
think
move.
I believe I could be wrong here, but I believe not for human consumption. They were on a keg tip for a while.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think when we did our
there?
drink off
Yeah.
with them, they were kegging it.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I think I was talking to Alan, rest in peace, man.
Love that
But
guy.
I was talking to him, and he's like, yeah, we have this keg thing, but for that specific competition where we're counting beers,
We had
do
yes,
cans.
that's
All
right.
right.
We had to do cans because you could heavy pour from a keg.
So as you
yeah.
already know, because you clicked on the episode here, we are going to be it's kind of an unusual one. We're going to be roasting the Coors family, as in the silver bullet, as in Coors, a Coors.
Blue Mountain can.
Cody's showing off his Coors Light right now. I got myself
I
a
bought one.
Coors banquet that you can't see.
Yeah, the titty background.
Yeah.
on Skype, Travis.
But yeah, we're going to be roasting.
Hold on, I have a Coors as well. I forgot to.
Oh, the Post-it.
Yeah, well, it's not. It's a big post. It's a business.
Oh,
there we
that's
are.
definitely a Coors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't see that at all. That's definitely.
There we
This
go.
is just a tip.
So yeah, we're going to be doing the Coors family.
Not one person, but just the entire Coors clan.
Yeah, well, okay, so we're not doing one person, but we're going to focus in on two dudes, the Coors brothers. Actually, three dudes, the Coors brothers. There's Joe, Adolf, and Bill.
Oh, Adolf.
Yeah. And those were the
Love that
those were the
guy.
guys that ran Coors through most of the 20th century. And yeah, Coors, very interesting company, and let's just kind of jump into it a little bit, right?
I'm excited. I am turgid, motherfucker.
Travis, take me to America.
Before I take you to America, I have to take you to Germany, the fatherland.
I suspected with Adolf in the mix. Like, who does that? The
Yeah,
Germans.
our story starts in Germany. I know you guys have been waiting for this at home. Our story starts in Germany with Adolf Coors. We're not doing Hitler. Sorry.
Ava Braun's
doing Hitler.
boyfriend.
Doing Hitler.
Who?
It's too obvious. Too low of a hanging fruit.
So Adolf Coors was born in 1848 in Barmen, Prussia. So Barmen.
Russia.
Yeah. You know, Prussia's that little like weird used to be Prussia, then it was Germany, all that shit.
Yeah.
So-
yeah.
In his teens, Adolf went full Batman, and by that I mean both of his parents died of TB.
Okay.
Oh, that villain TB.
yeah. That Joe Chill.
The TB that takes your wallet. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that TB that just smashes your mother's pearl necklace over and over and over and over again.
Is that because she's coughing too much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wear a mask.
Bitch.
So, you know how we like to talk about how, we've talked about it on the show before, how Germany, it's like one of those cool tips you tell at a bar, like, actually, Germany's a younger country than the U.S. Like, we've done that before,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I didn't know that, but I believe you.
For those of you still doing that, trying to pick up women at whatever open bar you're at,
Yes.
Don't do that anymore.
Oh.
That's a huge dryer, I would call it. A
Dryer?
massive.
It's one of those drying sheets.
It's
a
not
napkin,
even sheets.
Travis?
It doesn't smell good. It's like a non-scented, just dryer facing a woman's vagina. When you say little tidbits like that, they don't care about that.
Like a hair dryer, like a blow dryer.
Yeah.
So we talked about like how Germany is actually a younger country than the U.S. Well, that was thanks to this bro named Otto von Bismarck.
Otto.
He was the Kaiser, and right when Adolf Coors was growing up, the Kaiser was drafting all these young men and boys, German boys, to fight in his bloody campaigns to unite the Rhine. So
That's a river.
yeah, well, the Rhine that runs all the way through. It's the Rhine of Germany. It runs all the way through the German.
Just seeing like the Kaiser handing like a bunch of tiny hammers to German boys and be like, "Take this dam out. We have to connect the Rhine."
Yeah.
Let's connect it.
So Adolf, at the age of 21, along with millions of other German young men, including Trump's great-grandfather, dodged the draft by hopping a ship over to America.
Good move.
Welcome.
Yeah, he was like, I don't want to fight in that shit.
Leave the oppression, find the freedom.
Get oppressed.
Freedom!
Get oppressed afterwards.
And possibly do some oppressing yourself.
So you mentioned that finding the freedom. Adolf comes to the U.S. He's on the East Coast in Chicago. And the thing was Americans didn't really like the Germans in the 19th century. Like most foreign things, like the Crunchwrap Supreme, it takes some time for these hateful, scared Americans to warm up to.
It's true.
Right? Like, they're like, what is this?
Bratwurst?
It's like 10% culture and politics and then 90% smell.
Yeah.
People just smell weird from different places. That's science. That's not racism.
It might just be like the fucking boat ride. I feel like I'd smell coming off a boat for like a few months.
Especially when there's sauerkraut on that boat, too.
90% kraut.
Ugh. So, yeah, you're talking about land of freedom. I mean, he does find his freedom, but on the East Coast, he's not finding nothing. So he's like, I got to move out west.
Yeah.
And this is back when the West was like the West, the frontier.
Yeah.
The actual West. What year is it now?
This is the late 1860s.
Right. Okay. So
Like-
we're only 30 years past Louisiana. No, we're like 45 years past Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah, the Civil War just happened.
Right. So yeah, that is unexplored territory for the most part.
Still is
so-
today.
Yeah, I don't know.
right?
I don't know where I am ever.
Well, that's why I'm here, to know where I am.
Coors. Oh wait, Tom, I thought you were drinking a Coors. That looks like a Guinness to me.
I forgot. I actually hate krauts, so I decided to stick to my Irish heritage and have a Guinness. Also, I think this is my new podcast beer because it's very light on the alcohol, and I get hungry sometimes in the podcast. So this is the sandwich in the can that I need.
Yeah, that's why the monks drank it, because they were constantly doing podcasts called like God Talks at church.
Or God listens.
God listens.
Oh my
yeah.
god.
Yeah.
Podcasts are prayers just with microphones. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
you are all our gods.
We're talking to people not in the room we are right now. And we're hoping
Listen to
some
us.
of them listen.
Don't take everything we say seriously, but also gonna die if you don't.
Gonna die and go to the bad place if you don't.
Wait,
Yeah, we have a bad place. We're working on it.
don't touch your pee-pee. Actually touch it
Yeah.
and then send it to me.
Travis, please.
Yeah, so Adolf travels out west. He ends up in Denver, Colorado. That high altitude shit.
Good stuff. Mile high.
Yeah, and Adolf was like back in Chicago and in the East Coast. He had gotten a brewery job, and like that was kind of his like first job ish. I mean, he had done some work in Europe, but as a young guy, he worked in a brewery. He's like, I should probably do that.
Beer.
Like, yeah, out here. But the problem was that Denver had already been pretty established as a city, and there's already 7 breweries in Denver, and this is long before almost every dad in America blew their child's college fund on opening a microbrewery.
Oh.
As it is now, where there's like, 7 breweries in Portland? No, try like 3,000.
You know what you do? You just keep you just add 2 animal names and then like a part of one of those animal names anatomy. Like, this is catbird elbow.
Yeah, that sounds like a beer.
That does sound like a brewery.
Oh,
yeah.
this is dogfish head.
That's a real one. So it does. Yeah. That works. Yeah. Another problem, like, not to go on too much of a tangent, but you're absolutely right, Travis, because I have noticed that with the uptick of microbreweries, which are people who claim to really give a shit about beer, the quality of beer has actually like dissipated.
Yeah.
When you go to these small, really small breweries and pick up a beer, you try to like help out the local spot. You're like, oh yeah, I'll try your ale. A lot of the time, it tastes like shit. And the reason that is the case is that those beers those breweries don't have real capital behind them. They're trying to run them like mom and pop shops. And when you do that and you make a bad batch of beer, you have to bottle it and sell it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very
the
true.
Etsy of beer.
Yeah. You don't get a chance to do like I need the 5 weeks to make this beer right and all that stuff. And you can't fuck that up. So there's a lot of small breweries out there that make dog shit.
Well, and also back in the day, almost every city or town had a brewery because, as we're going to find out, beer does not transport. It has a pretty quick shelf life.
What?
Yeah, especially for back
then. But now,
really?
Well, because most of the beer that you have is either cold filtered or pasteurized. I don't even know if they have pasteurized it anymore, but it's probably cold filtered. But that keeps the shelf life alive.
Okay.
But like back in the day, it's like, make my beer, you got to drink that shit real quick in your town. You know what I'm saying?
So forgive me, but like I can remember hearing like biblical stories of people going on long journeys, and I think one of them was Noah on the ark for 40 days. And I can remember hearing like his provisions that he took with him. He brought more beer than water because it was more of a resilient like commodity than water.
Well,
is that
so
horseshit, or is that just some
no
weird
that
fluid?
type of beer that's not the same thing as modern beer. That would have been like alcoholic water-ish.
Okay,
like I'm talking about like at this point the beer they're drinking is like the beer we would drink today. You know?
Okay, all right, interesting. I'm learning.
Yeah. So Adolf's like, all right, there's too many breweries in Denver. I got to go outside of Denver. So he goes to this town called Golden. Well, golden-ass town.
I hate that. It's not Gold City or Golden City. It's just Golden.
Just Golden.
Wow.
And right near Golden was the aptly named Clear Creek.
See,
now
they added a noun. That's cool. If that city was just Clear next to Golden, you'd be like, fuck that. But it's Clear
I hate
Creek.
Clear.
Golden should have added like hill or mountain to the ass of their name.
Right? Golden
Yes.
ass. I like that.
Okay. Well,
so Adolf knew that the secret to good beer was water. Good water. You got to have some good water for good beer. You just poopy water, like if you're life strawing some shit out of a toilet and trying to make beer out of that, that's not good.
You know, that's subjective, but continue.
So him and a business partner opened up the Schuler Coors Brewery in 1873. And that is when our story really begins. That's the beginning of Coors.
1873. That's a good year.
Yep.
It's a good year for Ray Sr.
oh,
we got to tell that story, later.
Well,
we'll save it,
later.
it, because I'm going to be talking about light beer for sure.
Awesome.
So they start pumping out hundreds of gallons of their golden lager straight from this crystal clear waters provided from the Rocky Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
Delicious.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the man Adolf Coors. Now, he wasn't what you'd call a very fun man to be around. You can insert any type of German stereotype here.
Poop. Bratwurst.
I love how poop was the first one you thought of, Cody.
I mean, Nazism is too easy, and it's not classical. There was a time when Germany had nothing to do with Nazism, but
they didn't have that blemish.
Poop has always been the zeitgeist of Germany.
Yeah, but Germans though are not well renowned for their sense of humor. I feel
hit or miss.
Yeah, I mean, there's not one real funny Actually, I think that translates to every fucking Nazi joke I've ever heard. Most of them are not funny.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Even when you're making fun of them, it's just like,
Huh.
let's just, like, they're bad. We get it.
Yeah.
Let's.
So Adolf almost never laughed. He was very strict with his kids. He cared about one thing and one thing only: the quality of his product. The Coors.
Wow, I'm kind of confused.
Coors?
Why are you confused?
I don't know, because like nowadays Coors is like in the discount area for beer, I feel.
No, dude, that history runs deep. Travis, I know you're going to pull this up later.
Oh, yeah.
Especially about like the more recent history of Coors. But yeah, he was trying to commit his own genocide of bad beers.
Yeah.
That was his mission. Like
Tom, what were we talking about Nazi jokes again? Come on.
I know. I'm trying to see if I can pull that around. I thought about it. I was just like, no, there are some funny ones,
good ones.
Anyway, I don't know. I'm drinking now, so forgive me.
Never.
So Coors bought out his partner, Schuler, and he became the sole proprietor of the brewery, changing the name to Adolf Coors Company.
Not great for PR, but
Even though he was a hard ass and hard ass, grumpy worker kind of thing, he cared about his company and he cared about his workers. He allowed them to join the United Brewery Workmen of the United States, which was a union.
I like that.
And he paid them well, and even threw them a 5-minute break every hour where they could drink free lager.
Okay, you said 5-minute break. I was immediately about to boo, but if it's 5 minutes per every hour,
and you get to drink,
that's all right.
Yeah. This is a good guy. I like
and
this.
And there was an employee that one employee that did his best to maximize those 5 minutes. He's like doing strawpedos and shotguns and like literally timing it. So he's chugging for like 4 minutes and 56 seconds of that break. And he's like, he's hyperventilating before the 5 minutes so he doesn't need to breathe during the chugging.
Yeah, the guy who drinks 46 beers at work.
Yeah, Hans. His name has to have been Hans.
He did hire mainly German people.
This
so
is Hans.
Like, oh, fucking Hans, what are you doing? I'm slamming these boys.
I'm on break. And he's like tap dancing in Morse code so he doesn't have to speak while he's chugging.
Hans, you've done such a good job. After today's break and you finish your 10 beers, why don't you drive home early? Maybe put your feet up. You've done such a good job here at the factory of beer that I have. Watch it. 12 o'clock. That's when the children get out. But just drive home, and I'll see you tomorrow.
I love it. In 1894, the Clear Creek. I'm gonna start that whole thing over, Zwick. Cut that shit out.
But leave it in, Zwick. Leave it in. That was fun.
In 1894, the Clear Creek, the source that made Adolf a millionaire, decided to get really excited and squirt all over the place. And by that, I mean it flooded really bad.
Okay, so he's a millionaire. That's the first thing.
Oh, yeah, he is a millionaire at this point. And he's also a millionaire, and he's a U.S. citizen. He became a citizen.
Oh,
thank God. Well,
truly free. I like that.
But he's threatened. He's like, oh no, the thing that's made me all this money, the river's flooding. But Adolf would be damned if he'd see his business washed away. So Adolf got his men and literally dug a new path for the roaring river, which in the process destroyed 4 houses of just randomly.
In the name of beer. In the name of beer, though.
Yeah, this is like a Broken Lizard movie.
Wait, what's Broken Lizard?
Yeah,
that's the guy who did Beer Fest and fucking
the
Troopers.
Those guys. Got it.
Why, like you wouldn't catch a wrench if you had legs, right? Like that guy?
No, that's Dodgeball. Okay. That's different.
Well, the
Broken Lizard movies are fucking terrible. Super Troopers is fucking awful. I don't get people who like that fucking movie.
Yeah,
you don't get me.
No, I still don't.
Anyway, so, I mean, he destroyed these 4 houses to save his factory. He did pay them probably a few dollars, literally a few dollars, but whatever.
Went away back then.
So, we had talked about the temperance movement before on the show. Crazies like Carrier Nation or the hypocrite apostate Henry Ward Beecher. These people that are like, y'all can't drink, but I'm going to drink it.
Carrier Nation the more I have thought about her a lot since we did that episode. And if you don't know, she she carried a hatchet around and would smash up all the booze in bars and saloons and stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't there for that episode, by the way.
Oh, you were.
Yeah.
That was one of the. Okay, yes. But that was a lot of fun, and also I like a woman with conviction. So I think I was thinking about her when I was in the shower and stuff, and I was like, I don't agree with her, but
hatchets.
Man, I'd love to see her nipple.
It's a very, I'd say, not to use beer to describe her because she hated it, but it's a very stout woman.
I see what you've done. Oh!
So Adolf was actually on the good side. He was what they called a wet advocate for his entire life. He was a wop.
Yeah.
It's a wop.
Wet.
Oh, yes. Wet-ass person.
wet-ass political active person.
A wappa? Yeah. Wet-ass political advocate.
Yeah.
Para los niños, which is a wapon.
Wapon.
That's definitely a slur in some language.
Well, sue us.
So, obviously and unfortunately, he had seen this temperance movement grow, and he did not get his way, and Congress passed the 18th Amendment in 1917, which is, that's a bad time in American history. A very dark period.
Very
dark period.
Dark ages of America.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, Adolf Coors was about 70 years old. Remember, I'm mainly focusing on some other people in the Coors line, so we're kind of skipping through him quick. So he's...
Yeah, fuck your life.
Yeah, he's 80 years old, and because he had seen the temperance movement growing, he smartly diversified his business. So
his
he
portfolio.
he started doing real estate, he did cement, and the main sister company to the brewery was Coors Porcelain, so the porcelain plant.
Ooh, interesting.
They missed porcelain.
Porcelain.
Missed opportunity.
So the porcelain business was actually a really smart move because at the time, Germany was the world's top producer of porcelain. And you think, oh, well, what is porcelain besides just plates that you accidentally knock off your grandma's shelf, which I've done many times.
The place where you keep your grandma in a porcelain
throne.
It's a place where
You're talking about flushing my grandma's ashes down the toilet?
Me? No. Wait.
Yeah.
He was talking about a porcelain urn, but I was going to talk about pooping your grandma out after you eat her.
Yeah, Tom
by
was
accident.
I was passing the baton to Tom.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I'll take the hit for that one. Yeah, so every time you poop, unless you are in Thailand, it's on porcelain. So there's a lot of business to be had there.
Right. Well, at the time, porcelain was also heavily used in chemistry. So you didn't have like medical grade glass and stuff like that. Like
doesn't really react. Chemicals don't react too much.
So he sets up this Coors Porcelain, and then the Germans, a little bit of thing called World War I, and in 1914, almost all the German imports were stopped. So the government turns to Coors to be like, hey, we gotta still make chemicals and shit. And Coors becomes the #1 porcelain maker in America.
Yeah.
Wow, thanks to Germany fucking up again. Kaiser the first time around.
Yeah.
And now the second time around, fucking Archduke Ferdinand and that whole mess, which we like to refer to as the prequel.
Yeah, the prequel. The one with Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar Binks in Belgium.
He got shot.
In America's timeline, World War I did have some kind of Jar Jar Binks. We'll find it out on a later episode. What country was Jar Jar Binks?
Misa in the poppy fields. Oh, no. So, the brewery continued to make drink during the Prohibition.
Sick.
But they wanted to make it legal. They had the malt, and they had the clear water from Clear Creek. So it was converted into a malted milk factory.
Nice. Dude, that is the stuff that women dream of being covered in.
I thought you were going to say lactating. Like
no. They got their own milk, and a mother's milk is the most precious liquid on the face of the planet.
Tom,
besides, printer ink and stuff.
Yeah, printer ink.
But malted milk from a German man's factory. Oh, That's what they want to be covered in when they have a good night out.
Yeah, I know. It's like a foam party. And they also made something else called it's called Manna, which was just near beer.
Oh, okay. That sucks.
So Adolf thought by doing this and keeping the factory alive, like his workers would still have a job, and he expected them to show gratitude. So he asked his workers to cut their pay, and instead he just got a strike. He's like, they're like, no, we're not gonna work. Like, we're not gonna take a pay cut. Like, you're a multimillionaire.
At least he asked. He asked.
It's a weird ask, though.
I'll defend him. It's not a good ask. I'm not saying they should have accepted it, but at least he asked.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
again, this was back when.
No. He deserved the strike. I'm not.
Yeah.
But he was allowed to ask.
Go for it, guys.
Well,
Get him. Yeah, but the fact that he asked a little more character, actually, it shows that your strike might actually go somewhere.
Yeah. Well, actually, this was the time when multimillionaires could be put in their place by their employees because workers had rights back then.
Ah, the good old days.
So in 1923, Adolf, now 75 years old, he turned the business over to his also humorless miser of a son, Adolf Coors Jr. Because this guy's going to name his son after himself.
Let's keep it going. What could go wrong with this name? Oh.
Adolf J, let's rock it. Let's go. How we're not going to laugh during this conversation. How are you going to run my factory? That's it. He's not sure if his dad's joking.
Right,
So
he's like, okay, I guess good, Daddykins.
I'm going to run it well. That was a joke. And then it's awkward. Silence. 45 minutes of a silent podcast.
So his son's taking over the factory. A few years later, in 1929, Adolf Sr. vacationing down in Virginia Beach with his daughter and granddaughter.
When families used to give a shit about each other.
Uh-huh.
And so at some point during this vacation, Adolf, who's now 83 years old, it was the middle of the night. He walks over the window of his hotel suite. He's like looking out over the ocean. And then he just decides to open the window and jump 6 stories to his death.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh man, that's. I'm just imagining like it's deep and dark, but I'm just imagining the thoughts. He's just like this brew. I'm gonna call him a brewmeister, just German brewmeister. Hasn't made a joke his entire life, and he's just looking out, and he's like, "Now's good. Now's a good time for this." And he just like,
I'm done now.
yeah, it's just like there's nothing that's gone wrong recently, but he's just kind of like, good. I'm good. Yeah.
Well, there is stuff.
yeah,
I mean, there is stuff going wrong because it is prohibition. He's kind of like, I'm making
I was
milk.
just going to say, that wouldn't have happened if America at the time, the least free time, I'm not going to get into the Patriot Act, but, the least free time in America where you weren't able to drink beer, and this guy's entire fortune is made on beer. He's also,
that is true.
He's like, well, I can't even have a drink right now. Like, I'm in some pain. I could use a drink. You know what seems better than this? Concrete. It's like exactly what you're saying, Cody, where it's like this guy is probably, it's 9 years. How many years into the prohibition at this point?
About 9 years now.
9 years, right? So 9 years of like, oh, that thing I used to do, that I used to love, the thing that brought me so much.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I had enough.
And also,
Yeah,
he
right.
was the type of guy, I did, in the book I read, Citizen Coors, which is the laziest way to do an name of autobiography. If you have
It's parodied.
Yeah. This is the second time I did Citizen Cohen one time, and then I did Citizen Cohen. But anyway, so in that book, it mentioned that he did not drink during Prohibition because he was at much of a like German stickler for the rules. Like they could have made beer, but he's like, nope, it's against the law. I'm not going to drink.
Oh.
These Germans have principles, man.
Yeah.
Do you see what bad legislation does, America? It kills old Germans.
Named Adolf.
Named Adolf.
How dare you make bad legislation about what other people could do? Everything should be free to do, especially order Uber Eats.
So now with the founder dead, his son Adolf II, Super Adolf, takes control of the Coors plant.
Oh, you should have said Adolf II Boogaloo, Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo.
Well, I noticed you said a super Adolf, though. What makes him so super?
Well, he's Adolf squared. He's like the second Adolf around. He's even more miserable, even more crazy.
Wow, really? So
he jumped
Adolf
12
1
stories
kills
to his
himself
death.
exactly at half the age.
Oh, yeah, double the height at half the age. That's how it works.
Yeah, results. If his son does it, he'll be jumping off the roof at like 12 o'clock. I mean, at 12 years old, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how math works.
24
Also,
stories.
I have been drinking a while, so excuse my language.
It's important. This is a Coors show.
I feel like a fucking idiot.
So
Let's go.
Prohibition ends, and Coors Jr. starts producing the beautiful beverage of the Rockies once again.
Silver bullet.
No silver bull yet. That's later, Cody. You're jumping the gun.
I apologize.
So, Adolf Jr. has 3 kids, and those 3 kids are going to be the focus of our story about the Coors. These 3 kids. I know we're like 40 minutes in now, but these are the boys.
Gotcha.
I'm in.
And when I say he had 3 kids, he actually had 4 kids, but one of them was a girl. And these are misogynistic, emotionally repressed German-American people, and we're not going to talk about her at all.
You could have just said he had 3 sons, but you went out of your way to explicitly state women weren't people in this day and age.
They didn't even get kid status.
No.
Right?
It's easy
I
to be
have
a
4
fucking
kids
kid,
and a
man.
couple girls.
Yeah.
It is so easy to be a kid. There's like no W-9 or anything.
So the first boy, what do you think he was named?
Oh, the first kid?
Adolf.
Yeah,
Adolf Seni.
no, Adolf Threeny. Adolf
Threeny.
Shrek the Third. Adolf the Third.
All
How
right.
do you say
Awesome.
3 in German?
Eins, zwei, drei.
Adolf Dry. Not Adolf Wet. So Adolf Coors the Third, you went by Ad most of his life.
Tom was right. Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I know I was right, but I had to count to it because I know eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, and then I fell off. I don't know. I could do Japanese too. It's Nisanchi go rokuchi hachi kuju.
It's pretty hot. It's pretty hot, man.
I could do a few others, but it doesn't matter.
That on
I
your
don't need to show
OnlyFans?
off. I already have a girlfriend. I don't need to do any more.
Dude,
How many girlfriends?
Well, she's not a kid.
Count in
but
some
she is
language.
a girl.
Ein girlfriend?
I have one girlfriend, but she's not a kid.
I'm glad. We don't think we'd be doing the show if that was the case.
You can't take that out of context.
No.
I don't date a kid, and it has a lot to do with the way you phrased.
So, all right. So Adolf
Yes,
Coors
all right,
the
I'm
Third, he went by Ad most of his life because as he grows up, it's going to be the 1940s.
Right.
Having a name like Adolf in the 1940s.
Addie. I know people named Addie. Their name on their birth certificate is probably Adolf, isn't it?
No, the Adolf name has been a serious decline
I wonder.
since that guy
Yeah.
showed up. So anyone you know, it
Oh.
might be Addie, but it's probably Addison or something else. There's only like 3 Adolfs now, and they're like, raised in Tennessee or fucking Indiana by some fat piece of shit, like white supremacist retard.
Yeah, and one is from like the Congo.
Yeah, well, they have no
Yeah,
idea. Black Adolf.
Black Adolf.
That's a show idea. I'm sure
Ah.
Adult Swim would do
Yeah.
it because they have no ideas anymore.
Black Adolf.
Black Adolf. Great.
What could go wrong?
So Adolf the Third, or Ad, was the obvious heir to the Coors Brewery, and much like the Lion King, this uptight nerd would someday rule over everything that touched Golden's ass kingdom.
Well,
Son, do
well
you
said.
see the sun? There's no joke there. If you see the sun, this is the Golden Kingdom. Within the certain boundaries, you may rule it all, son.
Watch out for hyenas.
The only
I'm going to build a platform for you to jump off of when you're 12.
the only problem with little Adolf the Third was that he was allergic to beer.
That exists.
Soft.
That exists. How do I never get that?
That's like celiac disease
Celiacs.
and shit.
Yeah, celiacs. Oh man, I know a few people with that. That's rough. So if you're out there
Same
and
here.
you can't eat you can't drink beer or eat Wonder Bread, I'm sorry.
So Adolf, even though he's allergic to beer and he has a terrible stutter. That didn't matter. No, that shit mattered because he was Adolf III. He was going to take over the company.
Take over something as named Adolf.
Take over France.
Take back what I said before about no Nazi jokes. I think we've already snuck a few in there that are pretty funny.
What's our budget for Nazi jokes, Tom?
I don't care at this point. It's all free
Nine!
There are no rules here.
9! You can only do 9!
Good. That's a good joke with a real result.
And
not result. It's quantifiable.
Yes.
Excuse me. I've been drinking.
Math and Nazi joke. You're welcome. You're welcome, listeners.
So, as I mentioned, he has 3 sons. The other 2 was a guy named William Coors or Bill Coors, and Joseph Coors or just Joe Coors.
Joe Coors.
Joe and Bill. Joe and Bill are our main stars here. So, these children had a laughless childhood with an overbearing father that everyone, including themselves, just called Mr. Coors.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sucks.
They were all expected to go off to school with a major. Sorry, they were all expected to go off to college with a major relating to the Coors family business. There was no other option. So Bill Coors wanted to study medicine, but Mr. Coors was like, no, you will get a chemistry engineering degree so you can make this a beer better.
Ooh.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes, Papa.
At least he bothered educating him.
Oh yeah, I think I didn't write it down, but I think that Bill Coors went to Cornell or something like that. It was a good college.
Cornell.
Ah.
Not a good joke.
I laughed. I'm not a good person.
I know, but it's fine. I laugh at bad jokes all the time.
Right, as one of our reviewers said, that it's all fake laughs.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a little strange. Definitely a lot of nervous laughs on my end because I know people are listening to me.
Like that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Tee-hee.
Exactly. Yes, I get it. He doesn't like the show. I don't care.
Bill returns from college with his master's in chemical engineering or some shit, and he basically becomes the master brewer for his dad.
Brewmeister.
Yeah, Mr. Coors would ask him to experiment and try out different proofs with different ingredients.
Wait, you mean he sent him to college to experiment?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Hey.
Nice. Yeah, there you go. Open-minded.
Yeah, very open-minded. No, these are the most closed-minded people you're ever going to meet, by the way. Yeah.
Really? Oh, I like that. Okay.
Also, they weren't supposed to date anyone until they got their degree. Like that's how weird they were. Like, did you kiss a girl? Like, no, you don't have a master's degree yet.
That's strangely Asian parent. You know what I mean?
Well, the Asians and the Germans,
They got along.
The Japanese and the Germans had a co-op. A joint,
the
joint group.
The Germans were actually the less, they were the less strict of the group, which is crazy if you think about it.
So Joe Coors, being the third in line, he also graduated with some degree, but he was sent over to the porcelain factory. They're like, you're never going to take over the company because you're the third in line. Go to the porcelain factory.
Porcelain.
Yeah.
You failure.
Make a toilet bowl that I'm going to shit in, shitty Joe.
So speaking about toilet bowls that he made, during World War II, he actually created the insulators for the uranium used in the A-bomb that was dropped in Hiroshima. That was a porcelain Coors insulator.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so question. Have more people died from the A-bomb Coors made or the shitty beer Coors has made?
Great
Dude,
question.
well, no one dies on beer. It's like weed. No one died on beer, ever. They might have been drunk, but they didn't die because they had a beer.
Can't overdose on beer.
Make sure you leave that silence in there, Zwick.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
For the comedy.
So, long before the concept of true light beer, meaning beer with less calories. This good stuff, the shit that we like to drink, because we're real men.
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I got tits from eating meat. I'm not from drinking beer.
Yeah.
I'm actually shredded in some of my beer regions,
Beer reads.
So long before this, Coors was seen as the light lager because it was noticeably milder than most other breweries. It was crisp, clean, like the source, And people called it Colorado Kool-Aid.
I like that. That's cool.
Or
how long has Kool-Aid been around?
I don't know. I think Kool-Aid's been around like since 1800s.
Really?
I might be wrong about that.
Very interesting.
But this is the other thing they like to say about it, was that Coors was like making love in a canoe, fucking near water.
That's where that joke comes from.
Oh!
Yeah!
Oh.
That is the ultimate dad joke.
Well, it's a little dirty for a dad. That's an uncle joke, motherfucker.
Uncle joke, yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Very true.
It's like having sex in a canoe. People could see.
Works your core real well.
Yeah.
Need balance.
It's actually difficult to stay hard because of all the treacheries that you will encounter.
Are we talking about freshwater canoeing or saltwater canoeing?
We're just talking about fucking in a canoe for the rest of this, which I've never actually done, but I've been in a canoe, and I just had sunblock in my eyes the entire time. It wasn't very enjoyable.
The tip with that, coming from the Hawaiian, is before you have sex in the canoe, you go have sex in the hammock, because it's coming about the same physics, but you won't drown.
I'm just going to snap that hammock and fall on the ground. Hit rocks on my butt.
I don't know how they do sex in Hawaii, but here I barely
It's very complicated.
do sex. I do it on bed pour.
So, Mr. Coors, they're making this light lager, and Mr. Coors asks his son Bill to produce a lighter calorie beer. He wanted something that was still refreshing, but the customers would have to buy more of it. You make the alcohol and the calorie lighter, then, because he also wanted to lower the alcohol content, he wanted to make the calories a little lighter. Your customers have to buy more beer to get a buzz.
To get drunk.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's great.
So, in 1941, after about a year in the lab, Bill created Coors Light Beer, which was 13.8 fewer calories and 3.6%.
Wow, that's German because they're using decimal points like that. Like, it's exactly 13.8 calories lighter.
Yeah, and Budweiser's out there going, it's fucking beer, man. Just drink it.
They're also very German.
Fucking drank the beer.
Yeah, I just realized
They are, but
the name. Oh my God, are Germans good at beer?
I think they do it well. I think it's one of those things that Germans do well. Like some countries,
they do it well because they don't joke around.
Yeah.
Like America made a White Claw. That's a joke.
That's a fun joke.
You'll drink it, but it's still a joke.
Yeah, look at this joke I'm drinking now. It's a German seltzer, but it's
I can't
Bud
see
Light.
that because your anime titty
Bud Light
background.
seltzer.
Beautiful.
There you go.
So it was a huge success, but like this was during World War II. People would buy it. They liked it. It was refreshing. Eventually, Coors dropped the word light from their light beer, but continued to keep the fewer calories and lower alcohol because, like I said, they wanted people to buy more beer. But this would not be the last time that we see Coors Light.
I'm looking at a bottle of it right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Bingus.
So Coors is doing pretty well for itself, but it was stuck in its antiquated ways of working. Now, this was the late 40s going into the 50s, and the company had no lawyers, no accountants, and no marketing.
That's how a company should be, motherfucker.
Okay.
Doing their best. I know nowadays it's not how it is, but like, if you have 100 people on a beer company, in a beer company or whatever, I would like about 92 of those people to be dedicated to making beer. Nowadays, you have like, 1/3 of that's got to be legal, 1/3 of that's got to be marketing, and like the other third of it has to be like OSHA for the one like quarter of it that actually makes beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind the hot girls doing the PR and marketing rounds. Like, I'm all right with can slinging cans.
That's important.
You ever been at a bar and then there's just like a big titty lady who's in some beautiful outfit that goes, "Have you drank Harp Lager? Here's a free bottle." Oh, it's the best feeling in the world.
It is, but I don't know if that feeling comes from the free beer sensation or the big titty sensation.
That's all part of the package.
Well, it's both. The free beer, the beer doesn't matter. They can give you piss in a bottle. It's the fact that a woman gives you a drink, and I'm sorry to isolate our women listeners here, but It's very rare that a woman buys a man drink.
Yeah, buy a guy a drink. It's a nice thing to do sometimes.
That's what it fucking is.
If you, I mean, I buy drinks for people I'm not even interested in.
I buy
because I'm really settled into my manhood. I have a lot of insecurities, but yeah, I bought you drinks. I'll buy you a drink right now, dude. Dude, you come over here, I'll buy you so many drinks. Okay, I'm ready.
Wow. That's what it is. It's just nice having a female treat you.
Exactly.
Is that
and
all of humanity? I feel like I'm having a breakthrough, guys. I hate this. It's mid-podcast.
You might be. Why don't you drink that Coors?
Yeah.
We'll continue this later. I'm actually hitting it pretty hard. Like I mentioned before to you guys before we were rolling, I bought these Guinnesses because I know they're low on the alcohol. I get the whole sandwich in the can thing, but my goodness, it's not working. I'm just drunk. I'm just drunk and I'm hungry.
So, pastry in a can.
That's the gorgeous thing about drinking is it makes you feel smarter. Your stomach gets smarter. It's like, hey, guess what? I got right now. I need it. It's a need to eat.
I've drank enough where it doesn't make me feel smarter. I used to feel smarter. I know I wasn't, but now I'm a wiser drinker. Or I don't feel smart at all. I know I've said some really dumb things on this podcast, and I'm not apologizing. That's definitely not what I'm getting at here.
All
I'm saying is that I've wisened up.
Tom's a Budweiser.
Oh yeah. So speaking about Budweiser, the Budweiser Anheuser-Busch and to the east. So we had Anheuser-Busch to the east and Schlitz, which is up north.
Yeah, Schlitz, motherfucker.
Both of those companies were modernizing, and they had marketing, and they had lawyers and accountants.
Okay.
Now, the only person at Coors that was really like, we need to do something, was Adolf Coors III, Ad. He was the heir to the throne, and he had pretty much been useless at the company. He had some, business degree, but he was like, dude, we need to hire a marketing guy. We need, someone to sell our beer. We have great beer, but we need someone to tell everyone that we have great beer.
Right.
He's that guy. Interesting.
Yeah, so this was something completely foreign to Mr. Coors and his two other brothers, as Coors had this kind of unspoken creed to keep their head down, and people will buy their beer because it's the best beer. There's no flashy marketing necessary. This is our best beer.
That is so German/Asian.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Germans are just the Asians of Europe.
They are.
Yeah,
Oh my!
pretty much.
I'm wiling out right now.
So now remember, this is not like a backwoods brewery. This is a multi-million-dollar company.
Yeah.
This is like a big dog. I think they're one of the biggest employers in Colorado at the time, if not the biggest.
Right.
So you'd think that Ad would go out and find one of the best marketers in the world. I mean, he'd gone to college. This guy isn't a bumblefuck. I just live in Colorado. No, he's gone to college. He knows the world. Nope. He finds what he called an artistic fella that had come to a company picnic through a friend, a guy named Bill Mooney.
Oh God.
An artistic.
All right.
fella.
Well, this is gonna go well, I know, but
So
whatever.
Bill Mooney comes along. He has a PhD in art history, but he doesn't know anything about marketing at all.
They give out PhDs for art history.
Yeah, I probably would.
Unfortunately,
I wish I had an
yes.
art history PhD. I'd be like, do you see them titties on that picture? Yeah, it's a nice way to do it. Art. That's the first time they drew a titty that way.
Here's your PhD, sir. Thank you.
So this dude had a head on his shoulders. He had a PhD, and this was kind of the first glimpse we got into this really ass-backwards company and how ass-backwards it was being run. So Mooney comes up with a campaign, and he's in the pitch meeting with Mr. Coors, Ad, and Bill. And he's like, all right, we're going to have these people. And Mr. Coors goes, my father would not stand for that. We're selling beer, not people.
How German?
Yeah.
Mr.
Right.
Coors would not allow any person in his advertising. It had to be just the beer, shots of nature or something. He was like, if you put a person in your advertisement, it's like you're selling the person, not the products.
That's kind of how it is today, I'm noticing. There's hands in a beer commercial, cracking it open. But for the most part, it's just nature scenery.
I don't think that's true. I mean, look at like some of the big Super Bowl commercials for like Budweiser or
with that.
Today anything goes. Today it's like I get the sentiment of like, oh, we sell beer, let's just show the beer.
do.
But and today it's like I don't agree with that. Like you can have a celebrity or whatever involved, but like that's all they rely on now. I mean, with the products themselves. Look at this. Like Apple bought Beats by Dre for $1 billion.
When did this happen?
Yeah, that was 4 or 5 years ago.
Holy fuck.
And like that is the example of that, where it's just like if it was just a good headphone, do you think Apple would have bought them? But the fact that they had tied themselves to a celebrity like that made that happen.
You're telling me Dr. Dre did not make those headphones from scratch, every single one?
No, he actually didn't. It's really weird because you would think that, like, you see someone wearing those and you just imagine Dr. Dre all just sweaty and shitty in his, like, country shed, just putting them together and boxing them like that. But no, it's slave labor
in China,
actually.
yeah,
in China and stuff. And Dr. Dre just put his name on it. The headphones themselves, if you own a pair, they're still good headphones, but you paid too much.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree with that because today we're in a world where you could just sell a fucking name.
This is coming from an audio engineer, by the way, people listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not terrible, but don't do it. You know, you can find
so
other
the
ones.
very next day, Moomy is in the bathroom at work, and Mr. Coors is in there as well. That's always weird when you like go to the bathroom and your boss is also like taking a shit or something.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, I hate it when I'm like taking a shit in a urinal.
Whoa!
Well, you're fired, sir.
Yeah, that's.
Well, I'm taking a shit in a stall and I'm hanging out, and there's someone gets in the stall next to me and they take off their shoes and they just reach their barefoot over there and touch my barefoot because I also take off my shoes.
How many times has that happened?
Wait,
It's happened 4 or 5 times. Every single time it's a job proposal of sorts. Some sexual, some
Cody,
not.
aren't you like a get naked kind of guy when you poop?
Yes.
Did you do that in public?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Travis and I have worked in the same building before. I have been naked taking a shit while you have been, 20 feet away from me.
Oh,
And
Amazing.
that's great.
you're welcome.
So
I don't understand how people take shits with clothes on.
I don't
I don't know. They're just like, you absolutely must take 1 foot out of your pant.
No. The pants stay like at the ankles, but the shirt and glasses come off.
Oh, Jesus.
Glasses come off. That's funny. You can't see your own dick while you're peeing.
Why would I need to?
I mean, peeing
So
and pooping.
this situation's going on here in the Coors bathroom. Moomy, the ad agency, the marketing guy, is in there, and he's washing his hands at the sink. And Mr. Coors comes up. He's washing his hands at the sink. He grabs a towel from the rack and washes his hands, walks away. As he's walking out of the bathroom, Mr. Coors yells, "Come here!" And he turns around, and Mr. Coors grabs a towel from the rack and starts wiping the inside of the sink. And he says, "The next person doesn't want your mess."
Wow.
So this dude is teaching this guy how to wash the bathroom sink. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, especially if it's one of those things where sinks are supposed to take your filth away from you. Why would you clean the sink after?
You just clean that out once a wink.
Yeah,
That's what janitors are for.
Yeah. But
That's why
after
I said a wink. I don't know.
Another time, Moomy was working at his desk, and he looked outside, and he saw Mr. Coors laying face down on the sidewalk outside of the brewery, and just laying on the sidewalk. And Moomy turned to Ad, and he's like, "Is he all right?" And Ad was like, "Oh, yeah, they just repaved that part of the sidewalk, and Mr. Coors is making sure that it's straight."
Wow. German. Wow. German as fuck.
Just laying there.
Love it.
I think it's a strip.
I think this Moomy guy, I'm kind of imagining him as Weird Al in UHF.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
Coors is the guy who runs the big channel. I forgot his name. What, Channel 3 or something.
So, while all of this is going on, this kind of craziness that Mr. Coors is doing, the daddy, Bill Coors, the main chemical engineer guy, he is getting all wrapped up in the Red Scare. Because McCarthy's out there, he's constantly on the radio, and he's talking about all these industrial saboteurs trying to bring down the free market. So gotta watch out for them commies.
Always.
Yeah, they will not drink beer.
Yeah.
And they're definitely not going to pay for it. That's for sure.
So Bill gets all paranoid and starts wondering who at the brewery is trying to steal from us. So he starts setting up traps to catch his employees.
No.
He'd like put something out and see if people would take it. And usually that person got a slap on the wrist if they did. He's like, I caught you. But this started a lifelong obsession and a constant distrust and monitoring of his employees that we're going to really dive into when he kind of takes over the business.
Oh.
But I just, the Red Scare is what like started his fucking obsession.
All right.
So
realizing that not all Americans are the same.
Yeah. So at this point, the brewery and the porcelain factory was run off of coal. And the Coors read in the newspaper that there was a national miners' strike going on in 1953. And they were like, well, fuck these unions. And they formed the Coors Energy Company, which started, it was run by natural gas and mining. And when the union showed up at the mine, Coors was like, this is our company, we run it, and then hired scabs to work at the mine and the gas field.
Right. So they don't care. They don't have any pride.
Right. And this was coming from, this company was all about what did the original Adolf Coors do. And everyone was trying to compare themselves to like Bill's grandfather. But he was like in bed with the unions. Like he liked the unions. He liked to treat his employees right.
Right. They missed that part, and they also missed the part where he jumped off a building. Maybe they should have done that earlier.
Yeah, right. So also at this point, beer was being bottled and canned. Now, cans were made out of steel back then. They were very heavy and expensive to ship. So Coors decided to skim the price of these cans by forming their own Coors Container Company and started making their own cans. So they're very smart business people. They're like, we need something. Let's
Nothing
just make
wrong
it.
with that.
No,
that's just that's how to live.
Also, beer was, as I mentioned before, it couldn't be sold very far without being pasteurized, which was something that, maybe we'll come back and do the Anheuser-Busch people, but Busch, like that company, figured out that we should pasteurize beer before they started pasteurizing milk, and then kept it a secret.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
That's smart.
So obviously they had a bigger reach than Coors did, but Bill Coors hated pasteurizing beer. He thought, like, so what? You can ship it further, but it just skunked the beer out. Like, you have to boil the beer and get the bacteria out.
Right.
So he's like, we're just going to stick to the West Coast. So Coors was actually the biggest brewery west of the Rockies, and the East Coast was just left all to Busch's beer. Busch's beans. So anyway, along this time, in walks a Jewish guy named Lou Bronstein.
hi.
Obviously, the Coors, German aside, they were very Protestant, and like white bread didn't like anything what deviated from that. They did not like this Jewish man who Bill said stank of the East Coast.
Sesame seed bagels, I believe that is the smell.
Yeah. So Lou was a rep for the British Aluminum Company, or Aluminium.
Ah, no.
Alcan.
Hate that.
Alcan. So over in Europe, they had been canning beer and other things in aluminum. And so Bill takes a trip with this Lou guy. He's like, this guy's trying to scam me. But he saw the process of canning aluminum and like the pluses to it. So he buys a machine to can aluminum cans in Europe and brings it back with him to Colorado.
Fancy.
Now, this was kind of a big, crazy thing because no one could read anything. I think it was in German, but at this point, they don't speak German. They're German-American. Okay. So none of the mechanics knew how to read, how to put it together. So they kind of just like...
Oopsie-daisied it?
Jimmy rigged it. Yeah,
nice.
Right? But with that, Coors became the first American beverage company to manufacture and bottle and can aluminum cans.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. And they completely cornered the market where their competitors were buying cans from them. They also were the first to start the canning recycling programs. And just because I've always thought recycling is kind of a sham, it is, at least it started as it, because they did not do recycling to keep the planet clean or conserve. It was just the fact that they got the cans back and could melt them down and save money.
Hot.
Oh yeah. The whole recycling thing, like most things you recycle, they cannot repurpose.
Yeah.
And when you see those pictures of, oh, look at this shore, off of China or Thailand with all this plastic floating in it, that's American shit that they bought from us because we sell them giant crates of plastic and they can only use like 10% of it or something.
Yeah.
And then they dump it in the ocean. So you're better off throwing your recycling in the garbage, you fucking idiots.
Another thing Bill saw in Europe when on this trip, he saw something called the Enzinger filter. Now, as I mentioned, Bill hated pasteurization. He said it killed the flavor and the nutrition of the beer. But
Me too, man. I hate that shit.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But the Enzinger filter was something that could cold filter the beer. So instead of having to boil it, it would run the beer through these filters, and the filters were so fine that it could get the bacteria out that would cause a problem.
Wow.
Now, the thing about these Enzinger filters that they didn't know at the time, those filters made out of asbestos.
I was wondering why we don't see those nowadays.
Yeah.
Yum, yum.
So all the
good old asbestos.
Yeah, all those people enjoying those Coors. Yeah. Spesties.
Besties and testes, man. I'm sure a lot of kids were born without eyelids and shit like that after that drink.
Another thing that Coors hated, they hated a lot. They didn't like people that they didn't know. They didn't know all this stuff. They hated their distributors. They didn't like the people that were selling their beer to the masses.
What
were they, Jews as well?
I don't know. They saw them as leeches, so I'm assuming that's just another word for Jews.
Yeah, fair enough.
But this is really fucked up because these are the dudes that are delivering your beer to the people.
Yeah.
And Bill made it clear that Coors would only be sold in a refrigerated unit. This is the 50s, refrigeration starting. Like your businesses that you're selling to had to have refrigerators, and you have to put our beer in the refrigerator.
That's so wacky because sorry, keep going. I don't want.
Well, yeah, no. Even now, I mean, some beers were refrigerated, but you can still buy beer off the shelf, right? Like,
right.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, you go to a beer distributor and they put some shit in the fridge. But last time I bought Coors Banquet, it was not in the fridge.
But at the same time, Coors is like the only beer brand that's all up your ass about is brewed cold, filtered cold, delivered cold, and packaged cold. Cold as the Rockies, motherfucker. And you're just like,
cold,
that's why.
Cold.
Because of asbestos.
Yeah, and on top of that, Bill would drive around, sometimes for days, trying to find Coors that were sold outside of a fridge, then release hell on the distributor just for fun. It's like, you fuckhead.
You fucked
That's what happens when people get in the chart. When people are at the top of enterprises that they haven't actually done anything for. Oh, man, they get really loose with that shit. Right. They're like, well, I'll help the product this way. Theoretically, yes. Being concerned about that. A+, do it. Being obsessive and creepy about it and becoming basically Warwick Davis in Leprechaun about it. Yeah, not what I thought about it. That's a problem.
But Coors was flying off the shelves or out of the refrigerator shelves. And the brewery was having a hard time keeping up with demand. The 1950s were treating the Coors family pretty well. And Adolf Coors III had a son, Adolf Coors IV.
No!
Keeping it going.
Stop it!
Yeah.
Adolf Forthler.
But they're not calling him Adolf because, Hitler, they just called him Spike, which has nothing to do with that.
Why?
I have a cousin named Spike. I don't know his real name.
Is that just when you want to name your kid something fucked up, and you do it, so they're like, oh, he's Spike?
Yeah. So like all of the
Maybe
world's
I don't know. I'll have
spikes-
to ask Spike at some point.
All of the world's spikes
What's-
are actually Mussolini's or Tojo's or Hitler's.
So, Coors, Adolf Coors III, had always been a hothead, just a real brat. I mean, he was like the prince of the Coors empire. And often he would take this anger, like that he wasn't doing enough for the company because he couldn't drink beer, out on his son Spike.
Was Spike able to drink beer and spit it in his dad's face?
Spike's a little baby boy, so yeah, he's probably drinking beer. This is the 50s. They start him young.
That's what I said. Yeah, I mean, what was the legal drinking age then? 12?
Yeah. So one day, Ad was on his way to work from a ranch that he had bought somewhere near the company, and he got to this one-way bridge, and there was another guy at the other end of this one-way bridge. Now, obviously, this is a man that wears, like, designer watches and shit. He's more important than the other person on the other side of the bridge, right? I go first, fuck you. So they both go into this one-way bridge at the same time. They met in the middle, both got out of their cars, started screaming and throwing punches.
Sounds good.
Great. Did he have the shit kicked out of him because he's never done anything before?
Well, Bill Mooney, our guy, realized that Ad had not showed up to work. And something that the Coors never did. They were always on time. These are Germans.
Okay.
They're not late to anything.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Right?
Right.
So he drove the route along that Ad would have taken to his ranch, and he found his car still running in the middle of the bridge with blood all over the railing of the bridge and around the car. He looked over the edge of the bridge, and he saw no Ad, so he didn't fall over or didn't get pushed over. And Bill Mooney automatically thought this guy got in a fight. He figured it out. He's like, this guy got in a fight on the bridge, and he's probably in some hospital. This is before, like, cell phones. You know what I mean? So
Right.
the cops probably came. He's in the bridge. But panic starts.
Right. Minus one Ad. You do the math.
Yeah. Panic starts to set in, and Bill Coors starts contacting all the hospitals, police stations. Nothing. And a search begins. Where is Ad?
Find the Adolf.
Find the Adolf. The Adolf in the
Where's
Colorado stack. And here's where we can cue the true crime sound.
Uh-oh.
Oh, my God. I don't know if we're ready for all these downloads.
Very good, sir.
So, a couple days later, Ad's wife, Mary, receives a ransom letter stating that stating that they had Ad Coors, and they were asking for $500,000. They also stated that Adolf's life was in her hands, and they had no desire to commit murder. All they wanted was money. And they mentioned that we have 2 men ready to make a delivery, and they instructed her to advertise for a John Deere tractor in the Denver Post, and make sure you have unmarked money, and we will contact you on this advertisement.
And sell you a tractor of a husband.
Nice.
So she went to Mr. Coors and Bill, and they were not happy about giving up $500,000, but they agreed. They're like, all right, here's your $500,000 in unmarked bills. It was like it had to be different denominations and unmarked, non-serial.
Right, they couldn't be sequential.
Yeah, the good stuff.
Well,
So she placed the ad in the paper and waited some more, and no call. This went on for weeks. At this point, the FBI had taken on the case, and they were closing in on the suspected kidnapper of Ad Coors.
Interesting.
Before they could find their guy, this guy sounds like a real good dude. Edward Green, a 30-year-old pizza truck delivery guy, was out near the Turkey Creek Bridge, which was that one-way bridge, looking for a place to shoot off his new second-hand pistol. It's like, I just got this gun. I'm going to woods, shoot this shit. Bam, 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 bam.
Pew.
yeah, real American. Why the hell not? Find a bridge. They didn't have shooting range back then. It was just go find a field.
Yeah.
And hopefully it has a stump.
Yeah.
So he's out there with his pistol. He's looking for a good place to shoot, and he trips over a pair of pants. And he picks them up, as you would do if you found a dirty pair of pants in the woods. I don't know.
Free pants.
Of course.
And
Standard.
out pops a pocket knife with the engraving AC3, or Assassin's Creed 3.
Assassin's Creed 3.
The FBI searched the area and found Ad's body. Well, most of Ad's body because the animals had picked it apart.
Yeah.
At this point.
Wow, dude. True crime is cool. People should listen to more true crime.
Yeah. They found his windbreaker with 2 bullet holes in the back of it. Now, eventually they tracked down the murderer. His name was Joseph Corbett, and he had fled to British Columbia, where they did a bust on his place with coordination with the Canadian police. And when they found him, he said, "Okay, you got me.
You
got me.
You
Classy.
dirty Mounties.
What year is this now?
This is
Well,
53.
Okay.
So Corbett had a record, and he explained that Ad had attacked him, and then he just shot him and was like, all right. It was like self-defense.
Right.
You know, but he had already like attempted murder on someone, so it's kind of like, did he kill him?
You don't know.
But
what
anyway,
self-defense
Ad was an
is.
asshole. He was the one that attacked him, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'll buy it.
So anyway,
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'm just listening. I'm yesing you.
Yes.
I'm going, yes. I cannot wait.
I know, isn't
for
true
our-
crime riveting?
Yeah, no, I can't wait for our advertisement commercial to come in.
Raid
Brought to you
Shadow
by-
Legends.
Yeah. Brought to you
Yeah.
by Travis's Butt Plugs. I make them out of skunks that I find in my backyard.
Thank God. Now back to the
Now
show.
back to the show. So he was sentenced to life in prison and was released in 1980 on good parole. And that's the end of, seemingly the end of the Coors line,
Oh no.
if not for the fact that there was his son, the 4th one. We'll talk about him.
Ad Spike?
Yeah, Ad Spike. So Bill Coors, who's next in line, he's readying himself to become the next head of Coors.
Right.
Now, Bill was pretty much running Coors already. He had formulated the new beer and was managing many aspects of operations. And he was next in line in terms of birth. But Mr. Coors refused to let Bill take over the company. Again, Bill Coors is like 45 years old. That's when his father took over. And Mr. Coors, at board meetings, he left Ad's chair empty with a manila envelope with his eulogy inside of it. At the end of every meeting, he would end it with a prayer saying the company would never be the same. All while like Bill is like sitting at the other end of the table, like, come on.
That guy never even tasted the product.
Yeah.
Wow. I never thought of
what
that.
did that guy do?
You got
He
killed.
lived on a ranch. He was mad. Wow. Yeah. Feel bad for old Bill. Old Bill Coors.
Oh, Bill Coors.
He's out there. He's making the beer actually taste better. And Ad's like, numbers are bad. Make them better, please. Sure.
So just what?
I don't know how accountants and the magic behind CEO-isms and all that shit is. I'll never get it because I do things. I know what it's like to do things with my hands and my body, so I feel bad for Bill.
So just, I want to stop you there because don't feel bad for Bill. Bill, as I mentioned, Bill is very paranoid. He's a little bit paranoid all the time. Now that his brother had been murdered, this ratcheted up 1,000%.
Yeah. Okay.
feel bad for
Yeah,
Bill.
don't feel bad for him because he's like,
I feel bad
no,
for him.
he's like, guess what? These dirty commie pinkos, they're the ones that fucking hit my brother. Like, they're the ones that whacked him.
Feel
And
bad.
He blamed the death of his brother on the unions, even after Joseph Corbett had been convicted, and he was like, yeah, I did it. Like, no motivation.
was
Like,
me.
just like me.
Well, Travis, I get what you're saying. There's been a bit of like a miscommunication. You know, commies, a Canadian found man. Feel bad for Bill.
Bill was one of those guys who always got into any type of health craze. Like, think of green drinks, yoga. He'd totally be doing keto right now.
Wheatgrass.
Yeah, he'd be.
Gary, no.
Yeah, he was all about that. But in the early 60s, psychology was all the rage. So Bill hired a team of psychologists to counsel his employees because he cared about their mental well-being. Right?
Okay.
Isn't that nice? That's really good.
I guess. Go on.
Well, our inside boy, Bill Mooney, found out that these supposedly confidential therapy sessions were actually being recorded for Bill to spy on his workforce.
I love it.
Wow.
So Bill's like, oh, it's like you should go like fix your brain, talk to this person, have a good time. And they're like, he's learning about whose wife slept with whose wife.
That's amazing. Feel bad for Bill.
Feel bad.
He's getting too much truth.
Another wonderful thing that Bill started doing in this wave of paranoia, recently there had been advancements in the polygraph test. So when new hires were being brought on, Bill and Joe Coors wanted to make sure that no thieves, communists, radicals, or homosexuals were working at Coors. So he put them on a polygraph test, and the interviewer would straight up ask the person if they were homosexual, how often they had sex with their wife, and when was the last time they had sex.
They really got into the sexuality.
Yeah.
That bad,
Yeah,
eh?
it's weird because like communists are, what was it? Communists and thieves were like 66% of like the fucking concern, but all the questions are how often you shag your wife. Yes.
Yeah, and you might be thinking, well, Travis, this is just the shitty 60s at this point. Every corporation was homophobic. And some companies did, in fact, use polygraphs. But this was not normal to ask you about, like, when do you bone your wife? You like to look at man's dicks? Like, they didn't walk around doing that. And they did this until the 80s.
Whoa.
Really?
Yes. Whoa. We were alive when Coors Brewing was asking people if they were gay.
Now I know why Ray Sr. likes it so much.
Oh.
No ninnies on my front lawn.
So that's Bill Coors. But what about his brother Joe over at Coors Porcelain? Well, Joe was even a bigger scumbag. So, the general course of America since World War II had been one of progression. Sometimes it had been hard fought, like in the Civil Rights Movement. Education was on the rise. We had built up workers' rights, improved the average life of every person. Healthcare was cheap or free, and the government was finally serving its people. Right? I mean, obviously we had the Civil Rights Movement. That was just everything was trying to get better. Right? It was hard fought, but trying to get better. Along came a political thinker, or which is another way of calling someone an asshole, named Russell Kirk. Now, Kirk wrote a book called The Conservative Mind.
Okay.
And Kirk made the argument that places like India had it right, that a civilized society required orders and classes. You have to have poor people, you have to have rich people, and they do not cross.
Yeah, no, he's definitely onto something. You said he was an asshole, right?
Yeah. Political thinker, asshole.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. No, that sounds, he's on course. Bit of an asshole. Yeah.
So
it's hard enough out there. It's hard enough.
Yeah. Another tenet of the book was the complete unquestioning devotion to God and the suspicion or rejection of intellectual process. Kirk saw the age of reason as the age of ignorance.
Wow. And this is freaky to me because I think in German Kirk actually means church.
Really?
Yeah. So he's just like, God, yes, my name is Kirk.
So Joe Coors wasn't particularly a religious person when he started reading The Conservative Mind, but he loved this book. He read it over and over and over again. He was also an avid reader and donor to the National Review, which was a conservative paper that rejected the civil rights movement, saying that for the time being, whites were the most advanced race.
Wow. For the time being, we don't know what the future will bring, but as of right now, look no further. Whites are here.
Whites are in. Right? That's like a fucing Cosmo headliner. For the
what
time
is that?
being.
That's the dumbest shit.
Yeah. So
Whites in.
Joe Coors hated civil rights. He saw it as daddy government stepping in and fucking the free market.
Oh, no step on snake.
Yeah, no step on snake, and guess what? There's political classes, and the blacks deserve to be here because that's the class they're in. That's what he saw. Was the way that Joe Coors thought.
Okay.
Now, see, here's this thing where, like, there's this new, like, we have some tension here right now. Everyone knows the climate. I don't need to explain everything to everyone. You're listening to this around the year 2020 if you're listening back in the back catalog. Do you think it's like how Jay-Z has transcended being black? Like where they're like, oh no, he's not actually black anymore because he has $1 billion.
Oh, that's the cure.
Like he's part of our class. He has transcended.
Okay.
99.9% of the people need to stay there. They belong there, but he's actually not black anymore. It's not that he's rich; it's that he's just not black.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would be in line with Joe Coors. Oh, he's one of the good ones. I'm sure he used that term a lot. He's one of the good ones.
Yeah,
that mentality.
Is there like I've never not scratched my head metaphorically hearing that one.
I know. Right?
Oh, one of the good ones. Oh, okay.
Oh, all right.
Oh, all right.
You're a fucking creep and you're racist.
Yeah. You're very creepy that you have qualifiers like that.
Yeah.
When you meet a racist with conviction, I'm a lot less creeped out. Because then you just know they hate black people, they hate Jews, all that shit.
They're
But
a
it's just
machine.
like, oh, that's one of the good ones. It's like you don't even know. You don't even you can't even pretend to be a bad.
You have a line.
You don't know.
You have a line.
Yeah, you don't know what it's like to be the asshole. You're trying to be the good guy sometimes, and that's bad.
Yeah.
So, just like Bill's paranoia, Joe was crazy fearful of the government. In fact, in 1963, the USPS started using zip codes, and Joe thought it was an insidious plot to make everyone put their location on a numeric code for the mail system.
Fuck the man.
So for years, there was no zip code for the Coors Company. All the mail had no zip code on it.
Wow.
Stick it to the man.
So another big tenet of conservatism that was built into the whole system because it had a class system built into it was that it benefited the rich.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much the rich only, which the Coors were very rich. The genius behind the conservative movement was through religious guilt. It had duped people that were very poor into believing that they were on the right side of history.
Got it.
So the only thing left for Joe to do to become the ultimate conservative in this reality TV show called The Ultimate Conservative, which is very boring.
Not The Apprentice.
Yeah, no, it doesn't go very far, really. You always see where it's coming from. They don't know how to change it up at all.
No curveballs.
To be the ultimate conservative was to be born again, a process where one buries all their past sins and excuses their intolerance and future sins with the mentality of, I didn't say that, I didn't do that, God did it.
Oh.
God has forgiven me for the things I did.
So Joe reads the sinner's prayer and is baptized, and he's now a true conservative.
Yay.
Holy
that.
fucking hallelujah.
Yeah. Now, Joe was one of those conservative Christians that felt it was his duty to inform and convert his employees.
You said duty.
Yeah.
He's German.
He would put conservative, anti-black, anti-homophobic, or just anti-civil rights pamphlets in with their paychecks.
I can imagine
You
like
said anti-homophobic, so that's very
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm assuming you meant homophobic.
Homophobic,
I'm
yeah.
also
Anti-black, homophobic, and
Yeah.
anti-whatever.
maybe
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a Chinese takeout menu in there.
Yeah. Order from Ming's.
Order from Ming's. Great chicken chow mein.
Not a single gay Chinese person, as far as I can
It's
see.
possible for Chinese to be gay.
Let me get that Chow Yun fag.
I don't know if I should commend or reprimand you for that, but
It's whatever. I don't know.
we'll-
I've been drinking.
we'll see if it's in the episode.
Well, if someone wants to be angry at me, that's fine. I don't care.
So he also started to fuck with their paychecks, besides just putting these pamphlets in that were like almost KKK rally
Right.
bad. He started fucking with their paychecks to show them the evils of big government. So for about 3 or 4 months, he would not take out the employees' federal and state taxes. He'd be like, here's your full paycheck, right? I have not taken anything out.
Yeah.
Then,
Awesome.
after like 3 or 4 months, he'd take out all the taxes from their paycheck. So he basically just did not give them a paycheck for a month. Just to be like, look how much they're fucking taking from you.
Yeah.
Now, these are people that have to pay mortgages.
Yeah.
Like, they're not some self-righteous, like, rich brat. Like, these have kids, like, mouths to feed, right?
Right.
Like, you know, this isn't some guy who has always had money being like, oh, they don't need a fucking paycheck for a month. Like, you know what I mean?
You sure as shit don't need someone to explain to you in that fashion.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I pay my taxes in one lump sum every year. I get that the government's ripping me off. I would never do that to someone who worked for me because that's not how it works.
No.
Yeah.
And they're
on a budget, and they're relying on you for consistency. That's all it comes down to.
They need you for a paycheck, not like morality lessons in government versus.
And while the government is evil for taking your money, that's not how you teach them that lesson.
Yeah, no, that's just fucked up, though. Like, I think, the taxes are high, but these are people that have families. It's like, it's not like a rich fucking person that's never had to really work in his life. I mean, they did work really hard because they were weird in German, but like they didn't have to. Like if they stopped working, they'd be fine.
Yeah, they can go vacation in Virginia Beach or go jump off any building they want, and they won't have to pay taxes.
Yeah. So eventually the IRS was another thing that Joe hated. Was like, dude, you can't keep fucking with your employees' paychecks. Like, you have to pay them. And so there was like a big court case. The IRS won, and they sent in OSHA to check on the company. Now, Joe and Bill refused to let inspectors into the building without a warrant. They're like, you have to get a warrant to come into our building because I don't want you seeing any shit.
All right, well, there's no good guy here at the moment. It's
Joe,
the IRS and fucking OSHA that says you can't fucking tie your shoes if there's not a light on.
Joe then also hired the Denver police helicopter to spy on Golden's growing Hispanic community. Many of them migrant workers that were picking the barley and malt for the Coors factory. Joe called them pleasure-loving parasites.
Oh,
good.
Name me a person who isn't a pleasure-loving.
Yeah, right.
So
he's like,
fucking. I'll find you a German.
See what you did there.
So obviously, this conservative whack job racist and the paranoid psychological terrorists of Bill Coors were going to have some problems with the unions which still ran their brewery. Mm-hmm. But right as this was about to kick off, the old man, Mr. Coors, died.
Oh no!
Now you might think, well, you might think, well, Adolf Coors IV, he's kind of age. He's like in his 20s at this point.
Yeah, his name is Spike.
Yeah, his name is Spike. He might be ready to take over the company. Well, Spike was a very angry kid as well. His dad was angry. He decided to get out that aggression by joining the Marines. He's a very tough dude.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and he hated his grandfather, probably because he had ignored his mother and neglected them financially after his father's death. It's like, I don't know, your dad's dead, whatever, you do whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. So at some point in the Marines, Spike wrote his grandfather and told him, you remind me of another Adolf Hitler.
Oh my God, they made the joke we've been making all podcasts.
Now it kind of cheapens the way we've been doing it.
It's not funny anymore.
So I'm not really in favor of it just for that purpose.
Let's move on.
Yeah, well, Mr. Coors at that point wrote Spike and his mother and their siblings out of the will. An inheritance of $20 million.
Oh,
no. And with that, the Adolf Coors line was over because he wrote that Spike would never take control of the company. Mm-hmm. And Bill and Joe were officially in charge of the company. Jointly. Two emperors.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Okay.
A duopoly.
Yeah.
Oh.
The union had enough. Although the Coors did pay them well, they were now penny pinching. And during the annual union meeting, the reps asked Bill and Joe to raise their wages to meet inflation, which was like 3%.
No way.
Ooh. Yeah, it was like 3%. Yeah. Imagine a time when you'd be like, hey, guess what? Inflation's going up. Can I get a little bit more money? Like, that hasn't happened in like decades.
No, that hasn't happened.
No.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened since the 80s, really.
Oh, yeah. Since like another guy we're going to talk about in just a little bit. So the union workers go in and, hey, can you raise the wages like 3%? And Bill and Joe refused. They were like, no, we're not fucking doing that because it's our company.
It's disgusting.
And there was a strike.
Yeah.
Now, this strike lasted almost 10 years.
What?
Yes. While the Coors were not above hiring scabs just to replace their workers outright, they also they paid for the men's family's health insurance. So when they saw someone on the picket line, they just froze their health insurance, which resulted in one man's son dying.
All right. Well, that's, whatever.
So with the lives of their families hanging on the line with these employees, many of the men started scabbing and breaking the picket line. But technically, this strike lasted 10 years. There was 10 people standing outside the brewery for 10 years.
Nice. Okay.
Hot.
At the same time, the union had leaked the lie detector test with the homophobic questioning and also the pamphlets that featured near Klansman speak to the public. This started a massive Coors boycott. Coors were removed from all gay bars and publicly denounced by the likes of Harvey Milk. Actors started wearing boycott Coors shirts, and Coors was feeling it. They were feeling it hard.
Yeah, well, if they had just felt it hard to begin with and got down with that shit, it wouldn't be a problem.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So on top of all that, Coors' cold filtering process, the one I talked about with the asbestos, the lubrication had become infected, like in the machine, had become infected with bacteria and tainted hundreds of gallons of Coors. So people who were supposed to crack open their Coors, nice refreshing Coors, got a sloppy, boogery mess of bacteria when they poured it out of their cup.
I never want to drink beer again.
Yeah, so
I'm going to crack in my banquet right now.
I just finished mine. So that's the least sexy sentence I've ever heard with
infected lube
and taint.
Yeah, that's up there with some of the grosser band names I've heard. Caustic wound,
infected
lymphatic
lube.
phlegm. Ugh.
Can we start infected lube, Tom?
I'm thinking about it. I'll push it over to Big Will. You could play banana fucking drums. I'll play bass. We don't need a guitar player with something that gross.
Yeah.
Let's see if Big Will wants to do some breathing on it.
So besides all that, all this bad shit's going on with Coors, they're still the top seller of beer in the West.
Wow.
But around the same time, enters a new competitor, Miller Lite.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that beer. Well, I actually like every beer we've talked about. We haven't talked about Michelob, so I'm on a roll.
So Miller had been around for a while, but recently it had been bought out by Philip Morris, the cigarette people.
Nice.
And the cigarette guys sent over their top marketers to Miller Lite, and they were like, dude, let's make a light beer, because people don't want to get all them calories.
Hot.
And they did it, and they put a big marketing campaign behind it. And Miller Lite may have not tasted as good as Coors Light, or as good as Coors, their light beer, even though it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's all subjective stuff, and I don't want to unpack that, but Coors legitimately is the most refreshing beer because it tastes like seltzer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's no weight to that beer at all. And I've had beers that are lighter, like the Sam Adams marathon beer, whatever that one is called. It's the
Oh yeah, the one that you're supposed to drink when you're on a marathon.
Yeah, that's the scientifically lighter beer. It's Coors knocked it out of the park with that, because that's just like drinking a seltzer. You can put other shit in it. You could do a Coors and vodka, and it would be great.
Well, right now Coors doesn't have a light beer. Their beer is lighter than others, but they don't have a light beer.
Oh, right. I forgot you mentioned that earlier. Sorry, I've been drinking and forgot.
Oh, it's all good. So Miller Lite was the first light beer, whatever, 100 calories or less, whatever. I think it's about 100 calories. So
that's a lot still.
Yeah, but I mean, a regular beer is 300. It's like a sandwich.
Yeah. Well, there's a sandwich in every can.
I got a banquet right here. How much is in here?
I got a Sapporo. It doesn't say.
A 12 ounce of Guinness is 125, which is a lot less than I thought it would be.
Oh yeah, this is So I got a 24 of Coors Banquet, and it is 200 or around 300 calories.
What's the number?
So it's 2 servings. It's 147.
All right. So 200.
But anyway, it was a big task.
294.
Yeah, it was a big task to get a beer that low.
Right.
Miller Lite was like under 100 or whatever. That was like their number. It might have even gotten smaller since then, but their number was under 100, I think, at the time.
Amazing.
So these cigarette marketers were all over Miller Lite. It blew up. It was like basically the White Claw of the time, where everyone was like, "Oh yeah, we love White Claw," and obviously all the other breweries like started jumping on light beers. Like Bud Light was quickly introduced.
Right. Okay.
But Coors Light held out. They're like, we don't want to make light beer. Our beer's the best. Our beer's the best. And what did the Coors brothers do now with this whole? Everything is kind of crumbling around them. Do they fix their image? Do they work with the unions? Do they get a marketing team? Because our guy Bill Mooney had left years ago.
Wow.
Nope.
Right.
They doubled fucking down on their stupidness.
America.
Yeah. So Joe Coors had become personal friends with Ronald Reagan, the then governor of California.
Uh-oh.
They were like those little schoolgirls that used to call each other up and be like, "Oh, did you see Bradley's conservative peenie? Oh my god!" They'd like circle jerk each other over like conservative articles they read.
Right. Anyone who's very into a any political belief or any hobby too much, they do a little bit of that little girl shit.
So Reagan was also extremely anti-civil rights, a fact that has been conveniently buried. But the guy was like, no, blacks need to know where they need to be.
Jesus Christ.
But, you know, if you talk about Reagan to anyone, they'll be like, oh, he's a great president. Now, Joe...
everyone says that, actually.
Well, not everyone.
All those Black Lives Matter protesters. You ask them, they're going to be like, wow, love that guy.
Not everyone, but... Joe Coors was a very awkward dude. He was not someone that could have a political career. He just wasn't. He didn't have the charisma.
Oh.
Charisma, yes.
But he did have a lot of money. So he headed out to Washington D.C. and set up the conservative think tank called the Heritage Foundation.
Ah,
have you heard of that?
I feel like I have.
No. I have not.
The Heritage Foundation is still around today. It is like the biggest. It's basically put out the Bushes. It's put out Reagan. It's the biggest conservative think tank in D.C. One of the most powerful places in D.C.
Yikes.
Cool. Very cool. Really cool people go there, I guess.
Yeah. So Joe was actually called the Daddy Warbucks of the Conservative Party. He helped Reagan get elected. With the help of his Heritage Fund, as I just mentioned, despite the fact that Reagan was shafting the American people outwardly. Reagan also believed that the world was going to end in like 1993, but we don't.
Weird.
We'll talk about Reagan one day.
Well, did it?
I don't know. I'm still miserable.
That was the most Garfield line I think you've ever
Fucking
delivered.
Mondays, man.
If you notice, I don't bring up Garfield jokes a lot because I get it. I hate cats, but also I hate myself. So what does that say?
Now, Bill. So Joe is doing this whole shit. He's getting Reagan elected. He's building this conservative movement. Bill, on the other hand, is fighting the union and fighting against change in the industry. So Bill was vicious to the union. He didn't negotiate with them. He didn't give in. There's a strike going on. People had called for Coors to hire more women to the workplace because there was a big women's movement in the 70s. And Bill obviously objected, but the government and activists put enough pressure on him to hire some women. But Bill did not build them bathrooms.
Buckets for all you.
Yes, there was one bathroom in the Coors facility, and it was in the main offices, the ones that were used by the secretaries, because that was a women's role. So that meant if you were a woman working in the brewery, you'd have to walk about a half mile to use the bathroom, while the foreman docked your pay for the time it took you.
That's fine.
Fuck that.
It's on you. You should be drinking less beer on the job, then you would never have to pee.
Oh, that thing stopped a long time ago. They're not drinking beer on the job anymore.
I know, I figured that. But at the same time, I'm trying to have a little fun, Travis. Come on, give me a hand.
All right. Well, Bill was like, you want me to hire women? Okay. So he hired scab women to replace some of the brewery's management and specialists that were on the picket line.
Oh.
Not only were these women not trained at all, like they were put in this role and like, oh, okay, here you go. These were highly specialized positions. But now the union looked like assholes because they were trying to remove women from the roles that they had unseated. You know what I mean? Like, it was a strategic move.
Nobody wants to be around a woman with herpes. Fucking scab women.
Oh, scab.
Yeah, I like scab women.
Ugh.
So on top of all these antiquated changes, Bill and Joe were not changing anything. Like the 60s, or sorry, they weren't changing anything. But in the 70s and 60s, Joe's sons had already started working for the company, and they were chopping away at like the antiquated measures that were in place. And they decided to bring in another marketer. So Joe's son Peter hired a guy named Art Stone.
What a porn star name.
Yeah. Art Stone was a real deal marketer this time. He had like come from like a real business, not just like, I don't know, he likes to draw pictures of cats sometimes.
Right.
So here we have another outsider's POV of this ass backwards company. So Coors spent almost nothing on marketing. Usually there's like, you have X amount of barrels of beer you're selling, and a certain amount of each barrel goes towards marketing. Something like Budweiser had like a huge budget for their marketing team.
A lot of horses.
Yeah, lots of Clydesdales.
Clydesdale,
Yeah. Those are expensive horses.
Very.
They have hair. You gotta bring each one to the salon.
So first off, Stone wanted to get rid of something that Coors invented called the press tab. This was something that Bill invented, and he was very proud of, but it was incredibly hard to open. In fact, when Stone was hired, they gave him a can of Coors, and he pushed down on this press tab, and his thumb was cut on the bottle. Like, while his interview's going on, like, oh yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm really good. Like, yeah, stuff works.
So he's like, if I get the job, can I do something about this? It was awful. Your place sucks.
So when Stone brought up the fact that he wanted to replace this press top because literally bars were not selling Coors because it was so hard to open their cans.
Wow.
Joe was like, what are you talking about? It's so easy, see? And he reached into his pocket and pulled out a golf ball and then rolled it over the press tab to open the can. And Art's like, wait, you want people to just like walk around with a golf ball in their pocket so they can open beer cans? And like
Joe is, I knew he was dumb, but now he's in the smooth brain territory. It's like, wow, it's easy. Like Bobby Hill's boss at the racetrack. Go run across the race to give me a soda. No, that's not easy, sir.
So the second thing, Art was like, we need to make a light beer. Like, Miller and Bud are killing us right now. And obviously they're like, no way, we're not making it any lower. And it took Peter Coors years to convince these two to make a light beer, which is what we drink now, the Silver Bullet.
Silver Bullet.
And the reason why it's called the Silver Bullet, if you were interested, is because they used to, like, the beige Coors that you see on, like, a banquet.
Right.
Yeah.
That was, like, their standard color variation. But the Silver Bullet was just in a blank can when they were trying it out. And they were like, oh, we'll keep it. And people used to just call it the Silver Bullet.
I actually like that packaging a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it stood out. Because, like, no one was doing just, like, straight silver, you know?
Yeah.
So Bill and Joe were still all about that the beer speaks for itself. We don't need marketing. So Art Stone is in the same predicament. Joe hated country music, which was very popular at the time. But he also just hated all music because he thought all music was satanic.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, there is a difference. Like, generally conservatives, even in the 80s, were not, like, anti-music. Like,
I mean,
they were
This is Granddaddy. This is Granddaddy conservative. This is in the 70s.
Yeah. Right. Like, there was, like, Twisted Sister's evil. I get it. AC/DC's evil and all that shit. But, like, they were beyond the, like, Elvis sexuality. He's not even that sexy, like, thing. They were, oh, music is just music. And then, like, oh, no, if you say things like school's out forever, you're a devil. But That's a little fucking kooky for someone in this time period to think that music is satanic.
Right.
That's that's like Mitt Romney in a Volvo in 1999. Driving through McDonald's to tell everyone they're going to hell and not ordering anything
with a dog strapped to his roof.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little much. Like peel that back. You know, like you're a public figure in your own right.
Right, but like also country music, it's like the slam dunk for Coors. Like art's like we have to use country music. Like it's all about Coors Rocky Mountain. Like you know what I mean? Like
right.
Yeah, we got to use that country music.
Dude, speaking of country music, oh my God, I'm getting hit so hard right now. Fucking Unknown Henson.
Oh,
he's been canceled.
He got canceled?
Well,
he tweeted something really dumb.
What did he say?
He let his Southern roots get the best of him and talk shit about Black Lives Matter and Dolly Parton.
Oh, no.
In one tweet and was canceled and now he's canceled forever. And I'm like, God damn, I'm still going to listen to the guy because I do separate the artists from the fucking tunes.
Yeah.
But God damn it, Unknown, just keep your mouth shut. You play the part of trailer trash. Don't actually be it.
So for the people at home that don't actually know, what's Unknown Henson's most popular role?
Oh, Unknown Henson, if you don't know him already, he played early Kyler on the Squidbillies. But that's his most popular role. Right. But this guy, I know I didn't put him in the best light just now, but like his stuff that he's been doing on public access TV and the music he's been putting out since the early 80s, like the guy is a country genius with some of the best lyrics you will ever hear. Lovely lyrics.
Lyrics.
And great melodies. And the guy sold more records. He says this, he sold more records than the Beatles because the Beatles never worked in a record store.
That's good. Well, the Coors aren't selling any country records because they hate country because it's Satan music.
Right. Thanks for bringing that back.
Yeah. So Joe and Bill are all about the purity. We don't need to make anything. Our beer's good enough. Let's talk about the purity of the beer that these Coors brothers were, love to brag about. Yeah. And enter another one of our main characters of the story, the Clear Creek.
Right.
The actual water source itself. So this was the source of all of Coors' wealth. And it had been coveted by, their grandfather and their father. Well, in the 70s, with their whole, fuck the EPA, fuck the government, the Clear Creek had been contaminated.
What?
There was a sewer crack in the line that fed into the water source before the brewery. And this wasn't just doo-doos and pee-pees going into your beer.
Scientific.
This was a crack coming out of one of Coors' industrial plants that had a cancerous solution that was being fed into the brewery water.
Good. I
love it.
So we got asbestos and cancer juice.
Right. So right now you can imagine someone who looks like Jeff Sessions in a Hayao Miyazaki movie trying to talk to the river spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's taking the form of a young boy who's fallen ill.
Haku.
What is it I could do for you, little spirit Hakunu Moo?
Yeah, he's calling him a Chinaman.
Yeah.
What can I do for
what
you,
is it,
anime Chinaman?
Oh, another thing I didn't write in the script, the market in Asia was blowing up at the time. Because, Nixon came in and, kind of opened up Asia.
A little bit.
But the Coors refused to sell to China because they were red fucking commies.
Well, I don't blame them. I don't want to sell to China now because they made me stay inside for the last 6 months.
I'm actually proud of our racist subject tonight for calling Asians red and not the other obvious racist color.
The yellow commies.
I didn't want to say it, but thank you, Travis, for speaking for me.
They could have gotten creative, just like the slightest bit, and gone with orange commies.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, mix the red with the yellow. It's
orange.
So, what did they do about this crack of the sewer line? Nothing. They covered it up.
Literally, or in the media?
No, they never got out to the media.
So they did.
They found it. They found out about it.
No harm, no foul.
They
even
found
though we're
out.
Talking about
they
it.
found out about it, and this problem persisted for about 10 years in different ways.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good.
So, As the 80s kicked off, Joe was ecstatic because his friend, Ronald Reagan, was now president of the United States.
Oh, my God, I'm going to suck his dick. That's what he said every night before he went to bed.
Yeah.
Nancy, get out of the fucking way, you old wench.
He just drop kicks her out of the way. Like, I
got
Coors dick to suck.
I am going to fuck this guy up his ass, and he's going to give me tax write-offs that will make it totally worth it for both of us.
So his friend is then there. The Heritage Foundation is one of the most powerful organizations in Washington. Joe had hoped that maybe, just maybe, he'd land a cabinet position.
Oh.
You're like, fuck yeah, I want to be on the cabinet. Reagan, smell these conservative pussy fingers. I just fucking fingered the country.
Nice.
But Reagan was like, Joe, you're a nice guy, but you're not really. You're like a sack of Coors barley.
I'm dumb, but not retarded. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. But Joe did get to give a few recommendations for Reagan on his cabinet, including the Department of Education, which was given to a man that was an anti-vaxxer.
Well,
Okay.
how did that work out?
The 80s.
Good. All is well. That
Still
ends
recovering.
horribly.
Joe also toured NORAD with the president and heavily pushed the Star Wars program, which was, the the missile defense program that Reagan ripped off from George Lucas because he has no imagination.
Star Wars.
I don't know. Star Wars was
imagine.
popular a few years ago. Or whatever. Fucking Star Wars.
That makes me so mad.
Joe was not about giving up, fighting, and destroying those commies. He just wanted all them commies to die. He hated them.
In the fucking 80s.
Yeah, in the 80s. Now,
This is years past McCarthy.
yeah. Now, there was a thing, Iran-Contra. We've heard about that before, right, with Reagan?
Yes.
So, basically, there was capitalists and communists in South America, and the government was funding the capitalist militias, but they were like brutal murders.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. I'm simplifying it here.
Very hot summary, but it's fine.
Yeah, and Congress said, hey, guess what? We can't fund them anymore because they're fucking assholes.
Makes sense.
Stop funding them. A little bit after that happened, Joe was approached by Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, and he was like, you want to kill them commies down in South America?
Maybe.
And Joe's like, yeah, I want to kill those commies. So Joe shadily wired $65,000 to a Swiss bank account, and that money was given directly to the mass murdering Contras of South America.
Ooh, didn't see that
Sweet.
coming.
Yes.
No, yeah, I didn't. There you go. That's where your Coors, your blue cans are going to.
Yeah.
Wow. See, the mountains turn red when the blood of commies are spilt just right.
Well, that's like
That's really when you want to drink it. The blue is nice.
Blue
but
means
the
it's
red
cold.
is extra.
The red means
Well,
that communists died.
It's like the toilet bowl effect, right? Like it turns blue if you're in like the northern hemisphere. If you're in the southern hemisphere, it turns red.
That's how that works.
Yeah. I think that's how it goes. We have one Australian listener and he hates us, so let us know.
Yeah.
So with Joe, Coors mainly preoccupied with the destruction of America and the butterfly effect of a hellscape that we live in today.
Of course.
Bill was still running Coors, pretty much. Let's just say Peter Coors attempted to clean up the company image. He was going around to some of these minority groups and be like, look, like we hire black people now. Like, we're not terrible. We like gay people. Even though we try to,
That's always a hard one to say for
Yeah.
a heterosexual, conservative-driven person. We like gay.
yeah, right.
We like whatever you call
Yeah, no,
yourselves.
We totally believe you.
Yeah, even though there had been decades of them being like, "Are you gay? You're not gonna fucking work for this company. You have sex with your wife last night. You better have.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
How many times?
Did you finish
Fantastic.
inside her like a real Christian? You better have, or else you're gay."
Oh.
If you came on her belly, you're a homosexual.
Yeah, that's the type of shit they're asking in their interviews. But anyway, Peter's trying to like run this cleanup crew. Like he's a little bit younger, right? He's like a child of like the 60s. He had like experimented with the hippie culture. He's a boomer. But like he's still a hardcore conservative. You know what I mean? Cuz they're all the boomers like had their hippie phase where they had fun and then they just ruined the world.
Yeah. Of course.
So unfortunately for Pete, he made the mistake of sending old Bill out to a meeting of all minority business leaders in downtown Denver. What could possibly go wrong?
I don't know. Everything.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, Bill was a very healthy person. Like, he was all about health crazes. He jogged. And sometimes that actually kind of conflicted with his conservative nature. Like, he'd do yoga and be like, I don't believe in any of this fucking karma shit, but, like, I don't know, I'll fucking stretch this buttocks. But anyway, Bill had come back from Africa, actually. He climbed up Mount Kilimanjaro, as a lot of rich white people do.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those reckless things that get the adrenaline going after you realize you've been basically the equivalent of a tube of toothpaste annoying people because it's not flowing properly.
I should climb the tall thing.
Yeah. This is going to change my perspective and confirm that my opinions are the right ones.
So now that Bill had flown to Africa and climbed up Mount Kilimanjaro, he had seen all of Africa and he was pretty much black. So he could give a speech.
That's not how it works.
He could give a speech at this black business, minority meeting.
No.
Good. I'm glad he thinks it works because to me, he's an American hero now. He climbed someone else's mountain.
Yes, so he gave a speech at this. He gave a speech to a crowd of minority, successful black businessmen, and he said this. He said, "The best thing they did for you was drag your ancestors in chains over here."
Oh, is that all?
Then, seeing the reaction of jaws dropping to the floor, he bumbled around for a few minutes talking about the state of Zimbabwe. And eventually he ended up in saying the reason why it was a failed state was because, in quotes, they lacked the intellectual capacity to succeed.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Well, you know what? I've never climbed a mountain, so he might be right about this.
So the next day, Pete wakes up with the headlines in the local Colorado paper, which went national, that Coors calls blacks intellectually inferior.
I like the term intellectually inferiable.
Yeah, me too. I like inferiable.
That can be a good shirt that we just all wear around. Intellectually inferiable.
If I claim that I'm intellectually inferiable, will the government give me money to stay in my house?
Is there a subsidy?
Yeah, I hope there is. For the inferiable tax.
Well, you got Joe Coors over there hanging out with a Reagan who coined the term welfare queen. Yeah. So, Now, Bill's paranoia reaches a all-new high. Right now, all the black community is like, you're a racist. And he's like, what did I say wrong? I'm black. I climbed Kilimanjaro. And he's getting fed all of his brother and Reagan's war on drugs shit. That was a big thing in the 80s, the war on drugs. Everyone's smoking crack. Everyone's, doing drugs. Can't have that in America. This is a free country. Nope. Can't do what you want to do.
Too free.
Free country. So now Bill thinks that all of his employees were smoking crack and were drug dealers. So Coors pretty much owned all of Golden, Colorado. They had access to everything, including the police and all this stuff. The fire, it's one of those towns where the company is the town, and the town is the company.
Right.
Yeah. So Bill, thanks to the police, started wiretapping his employees to see if they were disloyal or degenerates.
Great.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of wasted effort, I would assume.
Yeah. Then Bill hired a former deputy by the name from Iowa, I think. His name was David Floyd. And Floyd and a few other off-the-books Coors employees acted like Bill's secret police in Golden. And also, the two other people that Floyd hired were convicted felons, one of murder and the other one an arsonist.
Oh, well.
Who tried to burn a police
at least
station.
They thought similarly enough.
Yeah. So they would spy on this Floyd, like, fake police would spy on the employees. They go to the bars and like try to see what they're doing. You know, are you making out with that man with a mustache? Like, I don't know. We don't like that.
Okay, fair.
They would spy on the unions. They would even conduct illegal drug stings where they posed as undercover dealers selling speed and crack, then would bust their employees that were buying.
Do like citizen arrest? So like citizen undercover? Doesn't
Yeah,
that
so
just
the
make
problem
them
with-
drug dealers?
Yeah, so the problem with that was they were not law enforcement.
Okay.
So Floyd and the Coors company were illegally selling speed and
Yes.
crack.
Okay,
Now we're talking Ron Paul flavored activities.
love it.
But again, they were able to get away with it because they controlled the Golden Police Station. Eventually, this guy, David Floyd, started using the speed that he was selling because when you have something good and fun, you're going to take it.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what I could tell a doctor to get some Adderall because I would like some speed myself. But I don't like shady street characters. That's definitely not my characteristic.
Floyd also started banging Coors' female counterpart to what he was doing in Virginia. They had opened up a bottling plant in Virginia, and there was this like female version of Floyd that was going around and busting people in Virginia for like doing Virginia mountain drugs and shit.
Meth. Mountain Dew and meth.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Bill fired Floyd, but he was never really an official employee of Coors anyway. And there was this whole like weird court case thing with it, and I think he had to like pay hush money and all this.
He was
shit.
probably 1099 in there.
Yeah. So Bill at some point figured out, hey, this cancerous leak running into the brewery's water, that's not a good thing. We got to get rid of this. How do you do that? Do you clean up what's they're dumping into the ground? You fix the leak? He's like, no, I got a better idea. Let's divert the water that's going to the brewery into the public drinking supply.
Why the fuck not?
Bringus.
Again, keeping this a secret because you don't want to tell anyone that they're getting
Good
some
stuff,
extra special juice
Marinade.
in their
Free
water.
minerals and cancers.
So health officials were like, hey, it's kind of weird that the town surrounding the Coors plant has double the national average of low birth weights
That is
and
weird.
childhood cancer. It's kind of weird. So in walks big government, and they told the Coors, the Coors were like, don't tell us how to run our business. Oh no, here's the EPA.
The
Scary. Yeah, big government cracking down on them. Now, thanks to the Heritage Foundation Fund and all that stuff, the deaths and pollution were pretty much covered up without Coors paying anything because Reagan was in charge, went to the
Fuck
EPA,
this.
went to the fucking all this shit. Yeah. But the problem with that, though, it was covered up, but the news got to it. The fake news.
Of course they're fake.
And so the news got to it, and they exposed it to the public, so they couldn't get around paying a fine. There was a court class action settlement. They ended up paying $400,000 in 1990 to the families that lived in this area that have died of cancerous shit that they dropped into their water supply. So eventually, Joe and Bill reluctantly stepped down from the company, turning the business over to Joe's sons, Peter and Jeff. Now, Peter helped turn the image of Coors around. He had brought in some good marketers that made Coors the official beer of Halloween, which I didn't realize was part of their campaign.
Really?
I thought Halloween was just for children. I didn't know children were allowed to drink at this time.
Yes, well, they solidified this with a commercial from the world's sexiest woman, Elvira.
Oh,
Just want to wrestle them titties.
well,
Dude, she is fantastic.
it really is.
And again,
I
like
watched
Coors, Jeff and Bill were like chairmen, and they're seeing what they're doing. Like, Elvira, what is this Satan titties? Get it out of here! And like Pete's like, well, this is what we're doing.
Let me ask you something. I ask you to do one thing. Get this Coors out there, make it the Halloween,
Right.
beer.
Okay.
do something fun with it. Why am I so damn hard? I know it's wrong because I'm hard. Turn this around, make me soft and drunk. All right? None of this hard shit.
There you go.
Okay? Goodbye now. Do your job. I'm assuming you talked like that. It's a German turns into that.
So no, they probably don't sound German at all at this point. They're like,
that's what I mean. It turns into that. So
yeah.
Knock it off. Get me unhard again. Give me a Coors.
Deflate.
Which is a beer my grandfather is very upset that we're even selling at this point.
So eventually Peter ends the Coors family business by turning over control. He never wanted to run Coors. He was just like, I have to do this. I feel like they all kind of felt that way. They're like, I have to do this. This is my family. You know,
right, yeah.
Like I have to do this. So Pete eventually ends it by turning over control to a career president named Leo Kiley in 1993.
Great.
And that
when does Leo Kiley die?
So Leo Kiley, I don't know if he's dead or not, but I was going to give you.
Then what's the point of this goddamn episode?
I was going to give you the death dates of the two people we talked about.
All right,
two people we shit on.
I understand.
So that really is the end of our story, the end of the Coors. But okay, so what happened to Joe? When did these? I gotta kill them, right? They gotta die.
Yes, please.
Yeah, of course.
When did they die? That's the question.
Okay, so Joe lived until 2003 and died at the age of 85. And Bill Coors, the health nut, I guess it worked. He died in 2018 at the age of 102.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a lot of almonds.
Now, one post-mortem thing just to catch us up to modern day with Coors and everything. The funny thing with the whole light beer wars, right? Like there was this whole thing with like, well, light beer's coming out. Now, right. Coors owns Miller. Actually, most commercial beers that you drink are owned by Coors because Coors and Molson joined as one company in 2003, and then they acquired Miller in 2016.
I had no idea that. I thought that they were still competing companies.
Wacky. No, so they actually own a lot of beer. I did not realize how much. I will drop this in the feed for you so you can check out if you're disgusted by this episode. These are all of the Molson Coors beers you can drink. And with that, I am going to go run to the fridge because I'm sick of drinking this Coors Banquet. I'm going to go drink a local microbrewery beer for the first time on the show.
Microbrew. Wow. Firsts tonight. All right, let's see.
I got to enter my...
it's asking me for...
that's a lot of beer. That's most of the beer.
Oh, no. Blue Moon.
I got to try this Tomislav.
You're just poking around at him?
Yeah, Blue Moon.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Oh, Vizzy. Look at that.
Coors everything. Crispin. Oh, no.
Yeah, Crispin. I was surprised about that.
Killian's, Foster's.
So, Killian's was actually, I didn't put this in the script, but Killian's was acquired during Bill and Joe Coors time. It was a whole big thing.
No.
I didn't want to put it in.
I'm glad you didn't put it in. I'm glad you didn't put it in the script. The script is really, it's heavy.
Keystone,
yeah, it is.
So Miller.
That's fat at that point.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Travis, is that the end of the episode?
Well, right now the end of the episode is with me drinking a Silver Moon Brewing Company, a Pilsner that they make.
Yeah.
It's made in Bend, Oregon. It doesn't taste very good. I'd rather be drinking a Coors.
What was it called? Silver Dicks?
Silver Moon.
I don't even see it here.
No, it's a local microbrewery. I was saying before I sent you that I'm grabbing a microbrewery beer.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to drink one of their like small microbreweries they bought.
No, I've been drinking a Coors. I've been drinking a Coors Banquet, and I was so disgusted by Coors. I said, "Let's try a microbrewery," and it's not
right. And now
good.
You're just as disgusted with everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a wash.
Yep,
it's good. I like it. Full circle, baby.
Wow. So Travis is washing down his very, very sad. You know what? It's not a sad script. It's not a particularly haunting script. There's a lot of people. It's a lot of
dude. It had true crime in it. Shut up.
Well, all I'm saying is this: I appreciate the amount of work you put into that because
Likewise.
I learned something about something I really like. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, Ray Sr.
All right, let's get into this. Fine.
Oh, yes.
So we're not going to give away his last name, obviously, because he's not a bad guy. And we don't need to dox this gentleman. But one of our friends, his name is Ray Jr. And his father exclusively drinks Coors Light.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep.
And when confronted by Ray Jr. about why he only drinks that, he said that Ray Sr. claimed that it was there's less alcohol
Yes.
than any other beer. And to which Ray Jr. said, no, there's not. That's an average amount of alcohol. And Ray Sr., he defended it, his stance on it, which was bullshit. I don't know where he learned it from. But look, if you like Coors Light, I got nothing against you because that's my beer choice when I'm at a beach and I'm burning up.
Yeah.
Really? I would think it'd be Miller. I feel like we're Miller boys more than anything.
Well, we are Miller boys, but I've also drank the shit out of Miller.
Yeah.
Where when I need to change it up, right? I don't really do a lot of light beers anymore. I do Budweiser because I'm trailer trash.
Yeah,
Now.
it's fine.
Well, maybe one day if people like this, let us know what we can do Anheuser-Busch because they are also weird, stuffy Germans with a gross history.
Fantastic. I have just finished my 6th Guinness of the evening. 16-ounce Guinness, the big ones. So I'm tired, and I want to wrap this episode up. But thank you very much for listening to the
Great
show.
segue.
Sorry if my drunkenness caught up with me. Travis, I did have a lot of fun listening to that. Cody, what are you doing?
Just stuff. Why?
That's it. All right.
Cody's drinking. I thought you were drinking a Silver Bullet. You're drinking fucking Sapporo. You're drinking some rice beer, dude.
I had the Silver Bullet and I have Sapporo, but I didn't want to mixing it up.
If this episode happened to seem a little like, we weren't as jokey as usual or whatever, it's probably because Mike isn't here and he's really the comic genius behind the show.
Oh yeah.
So forgive us for that. If you like the show in general, go to Roast Mortem. Go to patreon.com/roastmortemcast.
Yeah.
Hand us your money. We're working on it. It's been weird because we're all in different places and we're trying to get more content on the Patreon, but we're still putting out this show and we're fucking proud of it.
Yeah, bro.
And, so we appreciate everyone who's on the Patreon. Excellent people.
Especially Sean Beaurain.
Yes, thank you. Sean Beaurain laughs harder than the rest of
Yep.
you. As our only producer.
Yes. And you know what? Just keep the sun out of your eyes and be yourself.
Yeah.
Always.
A lot of
Always
people
and
have
never
had
not.
a lot of people have had questions on what. Maybe we should do like a little quiz. Well, maybe you could win something if you tweet at us what quotes are in our theme song
And who said them?
and who said them.
From which franchise?
Oh, yeah. That's fun. Yeah, if you can quote any of the dumb shit. None of the Star Trek ones count.
It's all Star Trek.
But the other ones, there are the other ones. Find them. Let us know, and maybe we'll send you a koozie
Yeah.
so you can keep your Coors Light cool as it was intended to drink.
Hopefully,
Like the Rockies.
hopefully it won't have slime in it. You've been slimed. This is Roast Mortem. Goodbye.
Bye, danke schön.
Love you.
Thank you, Howdy.
Danker Shanes.
Danke, danke. Hey.
Oh.